Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into Carey Stadium on the campus of the Germantown Academy right here on the outskirts of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for our Week 3 matchup between the Philadelphia Spinners and the New York Rumble. I'm Jeff Poster, joined alongside once again by Dusty Rhodes. New York and Philadelphia, a rematch from Week 1. It's a beautiful, beautiful day here at Germantown Academy. The weather, I'd say, Dusty, is, in my opinion, pretty perfect for the game of Ultimate. We got sunny blue skies here, just enough wind to make it interesting, and the big part is there's no precipitation in the forecast whatsoever.
Yeah, the breeze is sort of almost considering turning into a wind. It's not quite sure if it wants to go that far. The temperature's changing a little bit. We're getting a little bit of variance. Should be a fun day today, but as you said, the weather on the whole is beautiful enough that neither of these teams should be concerned or changing their game plans, and we should be out to see a good contest between both these teams.
So the Rumble come in at 1-2 overall. Philadelphia 3-0. Rumble actually on the second leg of a doubleheader weekend. They defeated the Current last night. An impressive game. Dusty, you were at that one. 21-19. They scored 10 times in the fourth quarter to finally take that lead and then hold on to it for good. It was a 10-4 fourth quarter, including 6 breaks. Just impressive from New York all around. Sean Mott, Scott Zoo, Matt Weintraub. Guys we're going to talk about today, but an impressive night for the Rumble.
Yeah, on the whole, it was just their ability to maintain their effort and their execution and keep working throughout the game, even though they were down as many as 5 points, possibly even as many as 6 during that game. To hold with it, despite the fact that they hadn't had a win yet this season, throughout that whole game in D.C. on their first road trip of the season, on the first end of their back-to-back for this weekend, it's an excellent performance by New York, and we expect them to come out here today and be much more ready to play and excited about what they're going to see from the Spinners.
The Spinners just took the field. We're going to step away here and take a look at some of the keys to the game when we come back here at Carey Stadium. Hi everybody, welcome back to Germantown Academy, Carey Stadium. You see the New York Rumble and the Philadelphia Spinners. Jeff Poster, Dusty Rhodes on hand for today. The Spinners, talked about the Rumble before our last break. The Spinners come in at 3-0. They've had a pretty good start to the year, and they've done well here in their history at Germantown Academy.
Yeah, on the whole, Philadelphia looks like the team to beat in the East this year. They've already beaten Boston, and at this point we're just trying to figure out how they're going to do for the rest of the year.
So we do have a couple players to watch throughout this game. We talked a little bit, I mentioned his name, I should say. Sean Mott was very impressive in that game, especially in the comeback bid for New York in the fourth quarter last night, and he should be a go-to guy once again here this afternoon.
Well, I mean, to start with, he got 5 goals and 2 assists last night. But not only that, it was when those goals came. They came in that run in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, when New York was looking for someone to go to. Their team trusted him enough to put the disc up near him for 50-50 shots, and they also trusted him enough to give him open looks in the end zone when they didn't necessarily need to score. They just needed to run out the clock a little bit. Over the course of his career, he's been a very threatening deep threat, despite the fact that he's about 5'8", 5'9" on that range. But the way that he elevates and goes up for the disc early and catches it at his highest point, that makes him a threat for everybody.
On the other side, Philadelphia, it's a veteran for them, Matt Esser. He's going to be kind of the anchor on the defensive side of the disc here today, or has been at least for his history here and so far this season.
Yeah, on the whole, he's just a threat as a defender because he has the energy and power and aggression to stick with you as a defender, be close enough to make up the distance to a block. But after that turn happens, he's ready to go full speed. He has 5 goals, 3 assists, 5 blocks on the season. And he's the sort of guy that right after the turn happens, if you're not ready to defend him, he's going to score and he's going to push the offense forward downfield.
Those are our players to watch. We'll take a look at the rest of the team and the keys to the game coming up here at Germantown Academy. Welcome back to Carey Stadium as we get set to go here. We should be getting a chance to talk to the Rumble head coach, Anthony Nunez, Dusty's got to be feeling excited after last night.
Yeah, they managed to get their first win of the season last night, and it was with that comeback that we've talked about so often. Like a 10-4 comeback in the fourth quarter is almost unheard of. So hopefully we'll have a chance to ask him about that in just a moment here.
And we have head coach Anthony Nunez here, field side.
Anthony, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. A little tired from last night's game, but, you know, it doesn't matter if I'm tired. The guys are full of energy, so that's good.
So we can keep that focus up for the game. Tell us a little bit about the win last night and sort of how that came about for your team.
So our team's philosophy and goals are to improve every point, every game. We have a really young, energetic team. So, you know, that's kind of how the win happened. It was the fact that we focused 1 point at a time and just being a success in the moment, right? Winning that individual moment, whether it's clearing out for a teammate to be successful or being the guy who scores 5 goals like Sean Mott.
Exactly. Speaking of Sean Mott, speaking of players who are stepping up into large roles, what does a player like Sean stepping up into that performance that he had last night mean for your team as a whole?
I mean, you know, we keep telling the guys, if you play with confidence, if you play knowing that you're going to win your individual battle, you're going to do really well in this league. And Sean Mott is somebody who not just is a big player, but he's also somebody who has the confidence and will do what he needs to win. And that's what we need.
Yeah, and the level of excitement we saw from him after he scored and the way that he got involved his teammates was something that we've been appreciating for your team over the course of the season. What should we look for today in the specific matchup that you've got this weekend, in the second game of the weekend?
So what you should be looking for is exciting, fun defensive plays. These guys are willing to bid. They're willing to be athletes. They're going to run fast and work hard on defense. And then on offense, if the shot's there, we're going to take it. If it's not, then we're going to work it up the field and just keep moving it. We're aiming to have boring offense and exciting defense. That's just kind of how this game is. So.
Very much so. Thanks again for your time. Congratulations on your win last night, and good luck today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, Anthony Nunez says his team is ready. Looks like they're ready. First poll will be coming up here at Carey Stadium when we come back.
That was an incredible game to watch.
It was a huge loss.
I just decided to launch and try to get it. I knew if I went up early enough, I could get it.
And all of a sudden, there are feet kind of above heads.
Does it all come back to this loss? Does it all come back to this play?
If I had 4 hands, I would put all 4 hands on it.
It was up the other line. They had to deliver.
Boston kept doing this thing that you didn't think was possible.
Welcome back to Carey Stadium. We're getting set for first poll action. Jeff Poster, Dusty Rhodes here in week 3 of the MLU season on MLU Live. The Spinners and the Rumble. The Rumble trying to even up their record at 2-2 after the impressive win last night over the DC Current. And Philadelphia just trying to maintain their edge and their lead on this Eastern Conference and keep their undefeated streak going here and prove to 4-0. And going into this weekend, most of our experts here amongst the league thought we had this league and this Eastern Conference figured out, but New York really threw a wrench into that one last night.
And kudos to them for doing it.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
the sort of thing that we like to see where no matter what everybody else says about a team, it's about what they themselves believe and what they themselves can actually do on the field. So all that noise where we do things like predict games and pick who's going to win one game or the other, it all comes down to what you can do on the field and not what you think that you can do on the field. And New York yesterday proved that they can hang in this league.
New York will pull in their green and black jerseys, the green tops with the gold pinstripes, the black numbers, the white numbers on the short and the black numbers and trim on the back, and they will pull right to left across your screen, Philadelphia, with their O-line out there. And bringing that pull in is making his appearance for the first time this season, Dave Baer. Kind of speculating what his role would be as he's coming back from injury, and it looks like he's out there with the offense.
It's good to have another thrower out there. A little tight here for Maeda.
Have a Blady throw bobbled initially by Glazer, but he reels it in and stays in bounds.
Yeah, keeping his feet in bounds there was the toughest part.
Glazer trying to get around the mark of Doyle, and enough contact to warrant the foul and the whistle from our referees.
Yeah.
And speaking of our referees today, Noah Polsky, Joe Campbell, Brian Monk, J.B. Harrington, our head ref James Kulinski. Operating the clock is Dina Neapolitano.
And the key thing there was not the foul on Doyle that got them out of a touch situation. It was good fundamental defense by New York. And now an easy upline pass. The second easy upline pass for Sickles from Brandolph for the goal there. The start for New York was good, but as they continued through that point, it started to become easier and easier for Philadelphia to score. And eventually, once they started running downhill here, once they got near the end zone with a couple consecutive upline cuts, that was what made the eventual score very easy after the reset for the foul call. Absent that foul call, they may have not actually got close enough to the end zone to have a legitimate chance at scoring. New York started off strong on defense so far.
A couple of upline cuts there, and Dave Brandolph finds Billy Sickles. Just had to catch up to that disc, and we've got 9:09 left to go here in the first quarter. It's 1-0 Philadelphia, so take advantage of the whistle and score 2 throws later.
It's good to know what your play is going to be right after a foul call like that. Everybody on Philadelphia was on the same page. They had very confident motion, and the throw went up without a second thought. We'll see Esther to pull here.
Well, we'll see if New York can respond. They've had some trouble with slow starts. I mean, that win all came pretty much in the fourth quarter as Bosco at center there with the disc. Sends it to his right. Low throw to the middle of the field is caught. Threatening the huck was Sean Mott, guy we talked about. A very good game last night. Back to Bosco, right around midfield. Swinging out to his left. Ooh, and a layout bid. He's secured. Bosco will get it back again.
Yeah, they're working out of a vertical stack here.
Bosco will send it deep. Scott Zoo is back. He's got to deal with 2 Philadelphia defenders, and coming over to make the play for Philadelphia is McCutcheon.
That was
the top.
And that was sort of the problem that you have when you have a vertical stack with aware defenders, is the second defender can peel away from the stack as the throw goes up, not before the throw goes up, so the thrower doesn't know that they're necessarily throwing into double coverage. The work there by Philadelphia to get that hanging disc was a great start for the defensive possessions here.
Chow starts it off, gets it up to Martin. Martin has been an impressive rookie here for the Spinners, and now Chow will launch it deep, and that's D'd up by New York. They get it right back. One thing New York does do is get blocks.
I mean, they had the throw there open to Esser deep, but Chow underthrew it and threw it short and low instead of high and to the back corner of the end zone.
Chow gambled on the layout bid against Zoo, but recovered enough that Zoo's had to dump it back. New York looking to swing it out to the left. They've got that center right now with Seth Canetti, who did not play last night. Now Canetti will unload one. Bosco trying to catch up to it, and Bosco had it, and it was knocked out of his hands by Philadelphia.
It looked like that was McCutcheon there again with
yeah.
his second block. The pass there from Canetti needed to knife down a little bit more. It was almost perfect, but the almost is the difference between that being a block and a goal. A goal from Canetti to Bosco would have ended this point. Right now, Philadelphia has a second opportunity to break.
Chow again will start off. Zoo trying to trap him. This one sent, floats, and reaching up as he's done all season long so far is Martin, and now streaking downfield, the lone man trying to catch up to it, and Philadelphia gets their first break of the game. Patrick Lindsay reels in that pass from Martin.
One of the issues that happened there early on in that possession for Philadelphia is that Hunsaker, who was covering the deep cutter for Philadelphia, sort of slipped and fell on the turf, which gave one free throw, which led to a second free throw, which led to a goal. It's that one moment where maybe you don't have the right cleats on or whatever that can lead to the eventual score. Here we see the first block from McCutcheon,
yeah.
and now we'll see the second one from him chasing down Bosco.
Charlie McCutcheon making that point happen. And then Martin, as he's just, 3 games into the season, we've seen so many great skies from him already, and that one kind of falling away from him. Did a nice job reeling that one in, too, with his left hand.
And again, keeping his feet in bounds there, and we see Captain Patrick Lindsay here, happy to get that break early on. That's putting Philadelphia in a good spot to start here. New York, although we saw them come back from yesterday, they would probably choose not to have to come back like that again.
Big gust of wind on that pull allows it to hang up. And it's brought in by Cannon.
That's a big look from Brownlee.
It's tipped, and it's tipped over to a New York player, but they can't hold on to it.
It's a great follow by Finkler, but just couldn't keep it in his hands after he hit the ground there. And Philadelphia will get their third shot at a break goal here.
Casey with his first touch. Swings it up to number 29, Mike Arcata.
Working out of a mostly vertical stack here. That's a tough that pass needed to be more to the player's center rather than to his side, but he was trying to work over to the break. He may have been a little optimistic.
Tough for Casey. Tried to get it with the right hand. Now New York, that one bobbled up by themselves again. Finkler had it bounce off his hands as he tried to go up for it.
2 drops in 1 point, whether they're difficult passes or not, is not a good way to start.
Patel will start it off up to O'Connor. Grabs that one with the left hand, and this one will be tough to catch up to. And they're not going to, despite a good layout bid there in the last second.
Valiant effort there from Peck. He almost caught up to it, but the disc just didn't float enough in the little bit of wind we've got right now.
Cannon starts it off, gets it right back. Cannon doing all sorts of work here on this point. Looking to send it deep.
There's a travel call on that play, and there should be, because he took a hop, skip, and a jump before he threw that.
So this is coming back.
We'll figure out exactly what's going on here as the second ref comes over to confirm what we're doing. I think they're going to end up losing 10 yards here, and it'll come back to the thrower.
Yep. You see them backing up, and Cannon will move back and pick up the disc. And fortunate for him in a way, because that was a turnover if they did not call the.
I don't like the way that rule works out. If you travel and throw a turnover, it should probably stay a turnover.
Well, ends
which
up
we got
working
here.
Out and
disc don't lie.
And now they look to put it into the end zone. Just shy, right in front is Peck. Peck with the flick. And it's a goal. Good defensive effort from New York, but coming down with it, Bryce Dunn.
Yeah, the situation is looking dire early for New York as they're down 2 breaks early, and this was just a matter of he knew that there was a smaller guy in him. All he needed was a little bit of space, and he did a good job of keeping his right foot in there before he came out of bounds. But with 2 breaks, 1 hold, 4 minutes and 55 seconds into this game, Philadelphia is really taking advantage.
Early break in the action here as New York looks to regroup. It's 3-0, Philadelphia on top. Back here at Carey Stadium, New York, burning an early timeout here as they go down 3 quick scores, 2 of them coming on breaks. And they've got to find a way to regroup here early. You cannot dig yourself a big hole like this and expect to win.
Specifically not against the Spinners this season. They haven't had any successful comebacks against them. Obviously, they're 3-0. Boston made a bit of a rally against them, but Philadelphia doesn't look like the sort of team that's going to let you back into the game casually. It's not going to be the sort of thing where they just make a couple of errors and you can capitalize. You're going to have to find a way to take the disc from them.
This is the second matchup, as I mentioned earlier. They played each other in week 1 in a very gross weather contest, rain and cold up in, well, I should say New Jersey in Orange, where the Rumble called their home. 22-12 was the final score of that one. And then in kind of a similar situation, Boston made this exact same road trip in week 1 as well, went down to D.C., had a huge comeback bid in the fourth quarter to win that game, and then fell short here, got behind early against Philadelphia and couldn't recover. So it's possible that, at least in the early goings here, we might see a very similar story.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that I'd hope to see. I want to see New York get back into this game one way or the other, but Philadelphia feels in control right now. The way that they're attacking after the Rumble turnovers is really what differentiates them from how DC played last night. DC last night, after New York was giving them the disc, wasn't converting right away. And New York was sort of doing the same thing back. So it was a battle of two teams that couldn't take advantage of their opponent's errors until late in the game. But Philadelphia doesn't seem to want to play that game. They just want to win at ultimate.
They just want to win. Should mention, too, that last goal scored by Bryce Dunn, his first of the season, first of his MLU career. So good for Bryce Dunn.
Welcome to the scoring table.
Good pull here from Matt Esser. It's New York pretty deep into their own end zone. Bosco has it now.
It's a side stack here.
Yep. This one's going to float, and Philadelphia just takes it away again.
Excellent play by Colton there. The floaty pass gave him an opportunity, but again, he took the opportunity and got that disc out of the air early.
Esser trying to fight through a double team, and we have a whistle.
Yep. Looks like a disc space foul there.
That's what I thought. And another whistle right after the throw.
Yeah, I think it started before the actual whistle.
And they're signaling a goal anyway.
Okay. So that was interesting because the whistle blew before he threw the disc, but he started to throw the disc, started his throwing motion beforehand. So that's the thing where if you can time it perfectly, you'll take advantage of your defender. But if you don't time it perfectly, you're going to lose 10 yards and get pushed back from the end zone there. Turned out well for Philadelphia. Again, we saw them attack right after that turn. There was one floaty pass, one imperfect play by New York, and Philadelphia just gets another break right away.
3 breaks already, and bookends there for Gabe Colton. As Philadelphia 4-0 with 4:44 left to go in the first. And the wind's picking up here again for this pull.
Yeah, this case is going from right to left as you see the field, so this pull will probably be a little bit short. It's kind of gusty right now, honestly. It's not even just picking up.
Some flags behind us here, and you can see them very much moving in the wind. So here we go, Philadelphia, left to right, pull coming from Casey. And yeah, it's going to be a short one, hangs up in the air. New York will look to take advantage of the short pull with Bosco starting things off. Quickly gets it up to Patton, and then Patton throws it away. Is another catch D for Philadelphia. This time it's Casey, and Casey looking to put it into the end zone right away. It'll hang up briefly, but it's reeled in and caught. Philadelphia with another one, Arcata from Casey.
It looked like when Casey caught that pass on the defense there, he almost took off running with it as if he was going to run back the interception. This is a matter where New York is just not relying on their options here. This is like a 50-50 disc, and you've got the taller player in New York, but the Philadelphia player goes up earlier. Those are the sorts of plays that New York relied on last night to win their game. If they're going to lose those plays today, I don't think they have much of a chance against the way the Spinners are looking.
Stephen Willis was there from New York, and just a better time jump. Execution from Philadelphia, Arcata. And they've got the 5-0 lead. We talked before the game off air what the record might be for points in a quarter, as New York scored 10 last night. And at this pace, it seems like Philadelphia might break that record, if it is the record, with 4:14 left to go, and they're already halfway to that 10. We'll see.
Now, New York's got to work upwind a little bit here, working out of a side stack to getting the first one off.
Mott gets it up to Wilson. Wilson looks to swing it back. New York tries to take advantage of both sides of the field. Bo Lee. Stall count was probably getting up there. Finally gets it up to Wilson. Wilson right back to Lee. Wilson kind of broke the ankles of his defender, Bryant, with a fake huck who fell down. Good grab there on a running catch for New York's Weintraub. Doyle gets it back to Weintraub. The rumble threatening here. Looking to the back of the end zone, and they finally get one in there as Weintraub connects with Patton.
So at least we've confirmed that there is not actually a wall in the way of the end zone that they're working toward here, but even this play was almost a block.
Koshinash, not Patton.
So now that New York has gotten an opportunity to score, they're going to have their second opportunity on defense. So some of these players, when they go back out, should be fresh enough, should be ready enough to put a little pressure on Philadelphia's offense. The last time they were out, they had one opportunity to get a block. This time they need to capitalize, or at least make this point drag on a little while. Ask a question of the Philadelphia Spinners offense and see if they can answer it. Put them in a situation that they're not prepared for.
3:34 left to go. It's 5-1 now. New York finally gets on the board. They've got to rely on their defense here, as making the pull will be Wilson. Well, they do have the league leader in blocks on their team in Marquez Brownlee. Not in on this point right now, but there's definitely some talent on the defensive line for New York this season. First touch for Haranet, believe it or not.
Yeah, with Hiranet and, as you mentioned, Bayer back there on offense to go with Brandolph, that's a really
Very
strong offensive core of handlers.
And Pana stays out there on the O-line. I had been wondering about a guy like Michael Pana. If
Well,
he had maybe just been filling in as a handler in Bayer's absence.
Yeah, I would.
Haranet rips one down big. Sickles trying to catch up, lays out, and it's going to just die on him in the wind.
It looks like Sickles might be hurt here.
Yeah, he's slow to get up, and that's not good for Philadelphia. You see their trainer immediately head out.
Probably landed a little awkwardly, maybe on the rib, something like that.
Here's another look. See Sickles chasing down. The disc just dies and hits the ground very quickly. He couldn't get underneath it.
Yeah, it's that extension and then the bounce that you see on his left side there. That's a little rough. So we'll hope that he'll be all right here in a little bit. That look that they took to him going deep was a good shot, but it didn't turn out that well.
We'll step away here as they attend to Sickles. Come back. New York will have the disc 5-1. Back here at Carey Stadium, Sickles off the field. Hopefully, we'll try and keep an eye on him, see if he's okay. John Irvine for New York dumps it back and then gets it right back. And this one hangs up in the air and should be D'd up, and it is by Esser.
These floaty discs, if they keep this up, that New York will not have a chance to get back into this game.
And Esser is just checked in for Sickles, gets the disc back from Glazer. Trying to bump off his defender here and back to Esser.
Tell you, the size and power of Esser is something that most Ultimate players don't deal with.
And good defense there from New York.
It was good effort both by Wilson and Mott, but it looked like it was actually just a drop by Pana. A tough catch for sure, but it looked like it hit his hand cleanly.
So New York gets it back.
Just a throwaway from Ao Young.
Yep, just tosses it away, and Pana has it again. Pana has Brandolph.
He has a wealth of options right now. He just can't determine which open player he wants to throw to.
Decisions. Esser does see Brandolph. This one's D'd up by Patton. And New York clamping down here a bit defensively, but they've got to find a way to get out of their own half of the field. And here we go, burning their second timeout, still in the first quarter with 1:46 left to go. So we'll take the timeout as well. It's 5-1. New York's offense coming back out onto the field. New York in their huddle, trying to sub out, get their O-line back out there. This is a much-needed point that they have to score with 1:47 left to go here in the first, 5-1, and trailing big time here against Philadelphia.
And when we saw this yesterday, New York isn't afraid to take their timeouts while they're on offense rather than waiting to try to get the midfield pull or anything like that. They're just confident enough that if they get the right players in, get the right play call, they'll get the important point. And getting a break here looks like they'll be going about 78, 77 yards in order to get it. That would be a big step in the right direction for their confidence going through the rest of this game.
Yeah, we've seen coaches, it seems, kind of stray away from taking those timeouts in the middle of points for substitutions. Now, once that midfield pull rule was instituted last season,
well, I like
Anthony Nunez is still going to it.
I like the balance that it gives coaches so they can choose sort of what their game plan is going to be. Do they want to be a little bit more aggressive coming out of the point, or do they want to make sure that they get some of these longer points, some of these more telling points for the course of the game? Do they want to invest more of those timeouts and their coaching resources into that moment?
So the on-field activities in between points come to an end. New York has got their offense out onto the field, and Philadelphia will also take advantage and sub out their defense. And immediately you're going to start off with a double team as New York tries to get it out. Mott starting it off, dumps it back to Cannon. And getting pushed back into their own end zone, and then a throwaway. They're looking for a call, and now Philadelphia just has to put it in, and they do easily. So you take a timeout, and it doesn't work out for you.
They completed the first pass, but once they got out of that into their just sort of normal offensive set, it looks like Weintraub's inside pass there feels that he got fouled. Opponent doesn't agree. Ref doesn't agree. Get a closer look at it. We might be able to tell here. Yeah, so he was fouled on his left hand, which is his non-throwing hand, so that's a foul. Should be called as one, but you should also be able to throw through that foul, unless I'm missing something where he got touched on his right arm, his throwing arm, got touched on the elbow, something like that. So, yeah, it does look like there was definitely a foul there, but I stand on the side of he probably should have been able to complete that pass anyway.
Well, Weintraub doesn't win the battle with the referees, and New York continues to dig themselves a bigger hole. Now trail 6-1, 1:29 left to go. Take a look inside the huddle. Co-coach Eileen Murray in her first season as a co-head coach here, along with Anthony Nunez, his third.
A nice deep flick pull there, about 81, 82 yards.
Bowley swings it over to his left. This one will hang up and is D'd up once again by Philadelphia.
Just another hanging pass, and they've got a streaker going.
Downfield, and they catch up to it. And another score here for the Spinners. Nate Vendetta. So everybody getting in on the action here, the Philadelphia D-line.
Their ability to see this floaty pass go up, and you can see like 23 is already going in the other direction before the D is actually even made, and he's the guy who ends up with the score here. The awareness and the trust of your teammates to know, okay, this is a pass that we should get a block on. I'm going to start my cut to the end zone before we're actually technically on offense. That gives you a two-step advantage. However, if your teammate doesn't get that block, you've now given your opponent a multiple-step advantage, and their offensive point can continue. But Vendetta did a great job there of seeing the play, reading the play, and acting appropriately.
Arcata with the block and the assist. He's actually been pretty active here. I believe that's his second block of the game. And he scored a goal, too. So
doing his work early.
Yeah, very much so. Here in the first quarter as we get ready to approach the 1-minute mark here on this point.
Wind died a little bit. That's why you're seeing that much deeper pull in this direction.
New York given a wide berth. Caught on the sideline. And now they send this one deep across the field. Two players coming over. This one's tipped up. The layout bid by Brownlee. Originally it was intended for Finkler. And very good defense there from the Spinners.
And Leon Chow was doing a good job of giving chase there, but it wasn't quite enough for him to get a block on it. It was more that there were two players there for the New York Rumble who almost had a chance to make that play. We saw a couple goals from New York thrown in that same sort of knifing blade to the far side of the field last night, so it's something that they obviously see within their offenses. It's just a matter of what they choose to do next.
Colton starts it off. Catch is made by Lindsay. And another whistle. And now Daryl Stanley will use a timeout and get his offense back on the field with 40 seconds left to go here in the first quarter.
Here we go with this big crossfield flick blade.
Great play by Chow.
It looked like he did get his hand on it there. I
Yeah.
thought that Finkler got his hand on it first. That was an even better play by Chow than we were
Pops
mentioning.
it up. One timeout in the books here for Philadelphia. There's 40 seconds left to go here in the first quarter at Carey Stadium. Back here at Carey Stadium, 40 seconds left to go, and the Rumble huddling up, just trying to believe in themselves and get back into this game. Spinners, take a look at head coach Daryl Stanley here in his first year. Gotten off to a pretty good start, 3-0 record. Paul Manecci, Steve Wary, his assistants. And the Spinners will get their offense back out there and try and close out this quarter strong. Not that they haven't played strong the entire time.
They were in a little bit of a tight moment there with Lindsay trapped on the sideline. Their offense was spinning sort of aimlessly for just a bit in that possession. And while they might have gotten out of it, probably a good call to take that time out. It's like Philadelphia's going to be coming out in sort of a side stack here, keeping it pretty shallow. They'll probably have a good deep option right away. But they're also spreading out their handlers all the way across the field. And with 40 seconds left in this quarter, it's vital for Philadelphia to not give New York an opportunity to score. And it's sort of secondary for them to get a score in the last 40 seconds. But I bet based on the way Philadelphia's been playing this season, they go for the goal.
So here we go. It's going to be Bear starting it off. Wide swing out to Glazer. They got Hironet coming under. Nick's got it now. Up to Brandolph on the sideline. 30 seconds. Brandolph
Tight now.
having some trouble getting this away. Connects with Meta. Meta floats it up to Bear, and now you take your shot with Esser downfield. Brownlee, as he's done all this season, this time he tips it up, though, and then still manages to box out Esser, keep him away from the disc. New
10
York
seconds left.
will have a chance if they can get a quick throw off. Double team. A little hammer is well short, and I think it's down.
Definitely down.
And that allows Philadelphia to get another chance here. One-on-one matchup. D'd up by New York, but then caught by Hironet. Oh, wow, that seems to happen every time they play here.
And in the same end zone, too.
Oh, man.
That's an excellent focus there and a good job on the first double tip pass for New York to not get scored on. But then eventually they get that second pass, and here's that over-the-top pass that bounced off the turf. He may not have been able to see how he caught that, but he caught it on the bounce. And then we get right back up here. Looks like a one-on-one shot, but Hironet takes off on a sprint to get there, focuses on it as it bounces off of him. There are a number of other players who were near Hironet when that disc went up. None of the other players sprinted to get into location to make a play on that disc. None of the defenders and none of the offensive players. That's all about Hironet's focus and dedication to excellence.
So Philadelphia closes out the first quarter in exciting fashion. They seem to close out quarters here in an exciting fashion at Germantown Academy. It's 8-1. The Spinners on top of the Rumble. Don't go anywhere. The second quarter is coming up here in just a bit.
The team dynamic is just to have as much fun as possible.
It's an experience, man. You turn around and you look and there's this big giant animal running towards you.
When I first started commentating, it was kind of tough for me because it's like, well, I can be out there too. I can play with these guys. Why am I up here in the booth?
Jeff Grant he's a freaking monster. He can sort of just do it all, you know?
A few of my students were like, we saw you on the bus. I was like, I don't ride the bus. We're on the side of the bus.
Welcome back to Carey Stadium. Jeff Poster, Dusty Rhodes on hand for MLU Live here in Week 3 action. An impressive quarter there, Dusty, by Philadelphia Spinners. 8 scores, mostly breaks, and they have an 8-1 lead after one.
6 breaks, 2 holds, given up 1 goal so far. It's just the sort of dominating performance that we've come to expect from at least one team in the East every season. The first year it was Boston, the second year it was DC, the third year it was Boston after the early portion of the season. This year, Philadelphia looks like the team to beat out here.
So far, through 3 games and a quarter.
It's like every single one of their players is just waiting for your offense to have one little hiccup, one little floaty pass, one little swing pass that's a little closer to the player's body than it should be, not let out far enough. And all of them are accelerating towards that contact point with the disc. They're trying to beat their man there. And the frequency with which they do it and the aggression with which they do it is what's separating them at this moment.
So we'll see what New York will be able to do here as they get set for the second quarter of action to start. Anthony Nunez right there in the middle of that huddle. So they came back last night, but then the question is, how much energy did you expel in the previous night to make that comeback and then have to get up early, travel down here for this game? And we've seen it so far this season that teams have had difficulty that second day. Boston couldn't manage to keep pace with Philadelphia, never led in that game. Even Portland, who did win last week, still, Seattle probably should have and could have won that game, but Portland stormed back in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was an incredible comeback.
Yeah.
That's been the story of the season thus far for me, is the way that teams are finding to come back into games that we previously thought they would not have had an opportunity to get back into the game with.
So luckily for New York, they will start with the disc here in the second quarter. Good pull.
Well, they seem to be a little surprised that they're starting with the disc as they're chasing it to the back corner here.
Excellent pull.
It looked like that
landed. Did it bounce out of bounds?
It looked like it landed literally on the line, which means they'll take it up 20 yards in front.
Looked like it was going to hit almost the very back corner of the end zone.
If since it landed literally on the line, that means it was mere inches from being a perfect
pull.
That's what they need. The perfect pull.
The perfect pull.
Still taking a bit of time here to get it back into play. I guess that's at their leisure, as the refs didn't have a disc quite ready for them and aren't counting anything down. But it's the start of the quarter, so we're not losing any time.
Andrew Mythos starts it out and throws a high pass that's unable to be caught cleanly by Mott, so another opportunity for a break. O'Connor wide open.
Yeah, I don't think New York's got their defense sorted out here at all.
And then O'Connor just tosses it in pretty easily to Lindsay. And it's 9-1.
And this is what we talk about when we talk about conceding opportunities to your opponents. It wasn't a particularly bad pass. It just happened to be a drop. And then they never matched up with O'Connor, and he found, I believe it was Lindsay here, cutting all the way across. He had been open for about 20 yards by the time that disc got thrown to him. So again, it's that anticipation that your teammate is going to catch the disc on that cut. In this case, that they were going to recognize the poached player, deliver it to him in order so that he can deliver it to you a couple seconds later. That wasn't too tough a pass there in the open lane, and it hit Mott in both of his hands, but it was under pressure, and he knew the defender was closing, and the pass was slightly less than perfect.
Matt Michelson pulling here for Philadelphia. So the Spinners doing what the Rumble did last night against the Current, just taking advantage of mistakes, and there have been quite a few to take advantage of so far from the Rumble. See if they can regroup.
Centered here, working out of a vertical stack. They're using Scott Zoo as their first cutter.
It's Canetti who connects with Zoo. Zoo keeps it going. Hunziker on the far side. Canetti coming back under. That one popped up in the wind briefly.
A little bit of a function of Hunziker's throwing motion, but pass was right on the spot.
Mott has it near side here. Centers it back to Hunziker. Now he's kind of directing traffic, sends a very bladey hammer, finally turns over, but it's caught. Nice job by Jimenez.
Yeah, Hunziker was definitely calling his hammer shot there, directing the traffic, as you said.
Back to Patton. Now New York going the wrong direction. Zoo pushes up to Meeser.
So Tight spot
Low
right
throw
now.
and was not caught.
Just couldn't hold on to it. It looked like it got to his hand and stuck there, but not for long enough.
That's Patel for the Spinners. Sends it over to Bryant. That was a low throw, dug out nicely.
Yeah.
Wind is picked up here on this point.
Yeah, they're going upwind right now.
This one will hang in the air for a bit. Patton coming over for New York, but not before it's caught. Philadelphia getting the catch. And they put it into the end zone. Once again, that's Michelson, the guy who started the point off with the pull. And now he gets the score.
It was a nice, solid upwind pull. It hung up there, got a good distance on it. And this play, it was again, Philadelphia gets up early, and Patton's almost running underneath him as he makes the catch. It's a scenario where Philadelphia knows how early that they can take these discs, and they go do it over and over and over again. The way that they're executing offensively after the turns, it's full of aggression. They're making early shots. They're getting early opportunities, but they're not forcing it. They're taking the opportunities that they want. And that's putting New York in a really tough space right now. They're down 10-1 at the beginning of the second quarter.
Here too for Philadelphia, yeah, just a very, very big hole for New York to try and climb out of.
Now, to be fair, we've seen runs on the order of 15-5 already this season in multiple games. So this is not an insurmountable thing, but there's nothing in what Philadelphia is doing right now that gives any hint of weakness.
Big time flick pull.
Yeah, he did that on the last one going down in this direction too.
Bo Lee catches it. Wilson.
The wind is picking up even more right now.
Yeah. Lee. And that one bounces right off the chest of number 42, Christian Duez.
Yeah, with the pressure on the block, I'm not sure if he got his fingers on it or not, but it was a very tight window. And now we've got just an error on a reset execution.
Pretty good mark, though, from Bo Lee. Was looking for a foot block, and then Colton had to try and throw around it. So New York gets it right back. That's Koshinash. Weintraub.
And now they're on the far side of this stack. What are they going to do?
Lee will air it out into a crowd, and oh, wow. I thought Philadelphia had that D'd up, but Koshinash makes that catch.
I think it was a thing where instead of getting the catch block, he started to D it and then was overruled.
Brownlee now has not been super involved.
Good dump motion there from New York.
Now Wilson sends it low and elevating and skying up for the catch for the Rumble, and the score is Doyle. Makes it 2-10.
It was a good throw there. When we look at what Wilson did, is he put it out to his receiver's height as well as the space away from the defensive player, and eventually the catch was made pretty simple. But the opportunity there was provided by the error of Philadelphia on the reset.
There's that near D that Koshinash ripped down.
And this is a nice spot to throw this into. The defensive player doesn't really have an opportunity to get there. As you release that throw and as you watch that throw from the sideline, it looks like it's going to be too high, but it's actually perfectly placed as the disc sits down into the receiver's path.
Brownlee's going to stay out there for the Rumble and pull. Double duty here for Marquez on these points.
And that's something that New York does with a handful of its players. They play them both on offense and defense, try to run them through based on some of their club lines, so they're playing with a couple more familiar players. And it also relies on their players' strengths a little bit more.
Pretty good pull from Brownlee, still backing up here in it, near to the back of the end zone, pushes it up to Brandolph.
Yeah, it's a really good start for this point, except for this part where they didn't cover this player.
That's Pana wide open, up to Glazer, streaking downfield, that's Meta. This one, though, kind of Blady. Brownlee, what he does, comes over and gets the block.
It looked again like he was swiping at that disc a little bit rather than trying to catch it. And we've seen 2 plays already where it looked like he should have gotten a block, and then it ended up being a catch.
Zoo sends it over. That was Alati who just made that last catch. Back to Zoo. Midfield. Cannon.
New York is in kind of a horizontal stack here. They have spaces to attack, but the defender was moving faster than the receiver was well before that pass was put into the air. Thrower has to know what's going on downfield before he takes that look.
Mike Arcata with another block. Impressive afternoon here for him. Spinner's rookie. Glazer on the far side. Glazer will put it up again for Meta. It's going to hang for a bit, and It's D'd up again from Brownlee from behind. It Pana coming in trying to help out as well.
It looks like Glazer's just leaning back a little too much on his flicks, putting the nose of the disc up, and the wind is just catching that and making it hang up. Sadly, both times it was Maeda that he was trying to get the disc to with a more than capable defender on him.
Lottie sends it over to Cannon. Cannon, a very low throw, and Zoo did not catch that, and then they have to just toss it in easily, and welcome back, Dave Baer. Gets the easy catch score from Pana.
It's good to see Dave Baer back out here after dealing with some early season injuries. And as you're talking about, they seem to be using him on the offensive line, which is a boon for this team. They've found a way to score defensively, so they don't need to rely on him on the defensive side.
Ends up is the quick D.
It's a D by about 1.5 feet or so.
And then Zoo cannot turn the disc over.
And it was a good job by Cannon trying to get in there and make a play in that really short amount of time between when the turnover happened and when the goal happened, but he wasn't quite there. It was almost like there was still that moment of, oh, something's gone wrong here. Now I have to make a play rather than just going to make the play first.
Timeout on the field. Philadelphia pushes it back up to 9. It's 11-2 here at Carey Stadium.
The team dynamic is just to have as much fun as possible.
It's an experience, man. You turn around and you look and there's this big giant animal running towards you.
When I first started commentating, it was kind of tough for me because it's like, well, I can be out there too. I can play with these guys. Why am I up here in the booth?
Jeff Grant he's a freaking monster. He can sort of just do it all, you know?
A few of my students were like, we saw you on the bus. I was like, I don't ride the bus. No, you're on the side of the bus.
Back at Germantown Academy, Carey Stadium, Jeff Poster, Dusty Rhodes with 5:32 left to go in the first half, and Philadelphia with a commanding 11-2 lead over the Rumble. I'd like to say seem to be showing some signs of improvement here, but the score not really representative of that.
No, we talked about this a little bit with Coach Nunez before the game started. And he talked about trying to get better for every point, for every step of the way on this journey for this season. You want to get better for every single step. Well, they're at a point right now during this game, they have a lot of steps that they can take that are in the correct direction. So anything that they do right now that is positive is something that they can build on for the rest of this game and for the rest of this season. But they have to make those steps sooner rather than later for it to be meaningful. They've had a lot of issue with the wind, where Philadelphia is just sort of dealing with the wind and playing their game. New York they're floating some of the simple passes. When Philadelphia is making errors for the most part, it's been on more difficult passes where you expect that there might be a little bit of variance, whereas New York is just floating those simple passes up, letting Philadelphia get after it. And they haven't shown any ability to slow Philadelphia down after they get the turn. Now we've got this midfield pull here, which I've enjoyed watching most of. Last night, the midfield pulls weren't great, but they put the offensive teams in some questionable positions anyway.
Michelson is there to do the midfield pull, and a little too strong.
Just overthrew that a bit.
Yeah, just a bit. Hit some of the soccer nets and lacrosse nets there behind the
If you just kind of launch it at about head or neck level, maybe you'll catch somebody unawares, but that was a little high. So maybe it wasn't ready for the wind.
That as well. So Bosco will take it at the brick mark. Right up to Zoo. Zoo sends a flick past midfield as Mislos gets that one.
A little bit of a
Patton.
Vertical stack for the most part.
It's close, and it's D'd up by Philadelphia. You saw that one coming. It's kind of telestrated there as Bobby Ross.
Yeah, there just wasn't enough space on the sideline. If Canetti was able to run maybe 15 or 10 more yards out the side, that might have been a completion. But Roos had enough area where he could accelerate out past the bound of the field.
Roos gets it up to McCutcheon. Back to Patel. Patel let one rip, and that's D'd up easily by New York.
It's the second one of those deep looks for Philadelphia that has just been thrown so low and so hard that it was right at the defender.
Trying to get it back to Bosco. He can't get open. They dump it back, and then a little give and go here on the dump swing. And some contact.
That's right on the edge.
Yeah, it looked
So-
like our near referee here was looking back to one of his fellow referees to just clarify that call. It took a second for it to be made as
Agreed.
Patel.
That's the sideline ref's call, so he should be making that first, and he had the same view that we did. You could see
Yeah.
Patel made body contact with Zoo. That's right on the edge of whether you need to call that or not, if he felt he made enough contact that it dissuaded Zoo from being able to make a clean attempt.
Very tough throw to reel in there. His Blady flick and was coming in hot. So it ends up being a throwaway.
Based on last night, you need to give Mott a chance to catch that rather than trying to zing it in there before the defense can get there.
Philadelphia looking for another break. As Ethan Peck got the first catch. Lindsay now on the far side. Double team was coming over. Roos. Far side of the field. There's one out. Wind has died down momentarily here, and it allows Philadelphia to catch up to it into the end zone for a score. 12-2 now, as Philadelphia's Dave Bloodgood gets the goal, and the Spinners will use another timeout. Take a look again. First the defense.
Yeah, reaches out his big arm of the defender there at the last moment. And this is the contact. So you can see the body contact there, but the block itself, so the hands versus hand contact seemed pretty equal. Too much body contact to let it go, though.
And then the layout there by Bloodgood.
It's good
effort. Where we're at.
It's good effort by the thrower to put it to the defender's blind side. He couldn't find that disc to make a play on it.
So Philadelphia will be pulling from midfield when we come back here. It's 12-2, 3:16 left in the half.
That was an incredible game to watch.
It was a huge loss.
I just decided to launch and try to get it.
I knew if I went out early enough, I could get it.
And all of a sudden, there are feet kind of above heads.
Does it all come back to this loss? Does it all come back to this play?
If I had four hands, I would put all four hands on it.
It was up the other line. They had to deliver.
Boston kept doing this thing that you didn't think was possible.
Back here at Carey Stadium, Spinners taking their third and final timeout here in the first half, and get a chance to get off another midfield pull, or second chance, I should say, for that midfield pull, as the last one was not not very well executed.
Yeah, the notes that he's going to receive on that pull are, okay, so you have to throw it inbounds. It's like he had so much power on it and was aiming for such a specific spot that he overdid it.
Well, the Hokey Pokey's playing here as our DJ, and you saw right there, New York not too depressed despite the score. They were still having fun out there, and I think that's kind of the message that Anthony Nunez is trying to get across, as well as Eileen Murray for this team, is just go out there and enjoy yourselves and play ultimate.
Yeah, we got one guy on the sideline doing burpees for most of this, so for
That's
some people,
different.
you just got to engage your body. Maybe it's not necessarily ultimate. But we'll get this midfield pull here, and the goal is generally to get this disc over that first line of Rumble players and into the end zone, let it roll out the back. We're going to see Leon Chow try it this time with a lefty backhand pull.
Yeah, he's done this more for Philadelphia than I think most anyone else.
That's the roller is the way that Kevin Moldenhauer got a couple good, or at least one good midfield pull-off yesterday, where it was not cleanly fielded.
Doyle got it right back to Wilson. Wilson trying to send it. And pretty good defense there by Esser. It was a tough way to catch up for Brownlee anyway. Good layout there and the swing pass for Casey. Casey puts it up for Vendetta.
Really physical reset defense here from New York.
Esser up to midfield. McCutcheon. Vendetta again. Chow.
Mostly a vertical stack look here from Philadelphia. Brian with the nice upline work.
Bryant was looking for the end zone, and Casey shakes off that look. Chow, and a little give and go. What a play there from Chow and Bryant. That was fantastic looking.
Yeah, the hardest person to cover is very frequently the guy who just released the disc. And in this case, it's even harder because it's Izzy, and he takes off with a good first step.
Impressive from Bryant, and
But actually, I got to tell you, the vision and the throw from Chow are what made that play perfect. Like, Bryant gave him a viable receiver, but the little lefty inside-out backhand sitting up in the wind today where it's gusting and changing around a little bit, let this score happen.
He can't believe that he just got away with that, the way we see him coming back to the sideline.
Well, theoretically, there should have been at least one New York defender who saw that pass coming, who saw his first teammate get beat, and then stepped up to get his back, to help that play not be so simple, at least, to make the throwing window smaller. Chow had nothing else to think about. All he had to do was toss up a nice soft throw, and then the receiver ran onto it very easily.
Saw him motioning that he was eating it up or having it served up to him, too. So just the way they drew it up, I'm sure.
Not quite as deep on this flick pull, but still a solid effort.
New York will reel it in. They've got to find a way to get something done here in the final 2:20 of this first half. At least potentially get it back to an 8-goal difference. Zoo on the near side here gets around his mark into Cannon.
A little disorganized right now. It's been a good point so far for Philadelphia, mostly out of a vertical stack.
Coming under, pretty good cut for Hunziker. Bosco trying to tell his man to come back under, and Cannon instead swings it out. Patton.
Mott now looking back to his resets.
There it is.
New York isn't really giving any options in the end zone.
And there's one. They had to get behind the defender, but they get Zoo in the end zone from Bosco.
That was kind of the first legitimate looking cut into the end zone, and even then, it was a scenario where Colton may have been able to make a play on it if he expected the pass to come. Bosco does a good job delivering it to Zoo's outside shoulder. They catch it, and now we're looking at a New York timeout, so they'll try to pull from midfield coming up here in a bit.
So New York will use their final timeout. When we come back, they'll be pulling from midfield. Welcome back to Carey Stadium. Pretty good crowd this afternoon on a sunny afternoon on the outskirts of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
I can tell you the weather's getting nicer and nicer. We were a little bit worried early before the game started when we were told it was going to be 66 or so. It wouldn't actually get up there, but it's really nice out today.
Sunny day and a cloud in the sky.
Nope, just some jet trails, vapor
Yes.
trails, that sort of thing. Maybe a couple high cirrus clouds over here in the back behind us.
New York using their final timeout and try and execute the midfield pull. Down 10, 13-3. Again, they scored 10 in the fourth quarter last night, so hypothetically, this is not an insurmountable lead, but definitely not easy. I mean, they went into that fourth quarter only down, I believe, 5.
Well, I mean, we got to be careful talking about this too often about which sort of things are not going to be comebacks, because I've thought a couple games that were out of reach already. And they ended up coming right back and getting it back into the game. It's the sort of thing where that's what we want here, is we want to see what New York has in them, not just when they're struggling on offense, but if they get a couple breaks together, if they get a goal on the defensive side, what can they turn that into? Yeah. So it's one thing when you're trying to maintain on offense. It's another thing when you're sort of playing downhill on defense.
So 1:39 left to go in the first half. It's 13-3. Both teams have used all 3 of their timeouts. And New York pulling from midfield. Looks like that's Matt Wilson who will be doing the honors.
We've got New York, Philadelphia spread out here. The refs are making sure that we have discs in place around the backs of the end zone. So it just took a little more time there to make sure that Philadelphia will have an opportunity to play this in quickly, even if it rolls out the back.
Wilson, pretty good job. He gets it over everybody and rolls right out the back.
Well aimed. It was coming in quickly enough that it wasn't caught right away. And Philadelphia will have to take it from the corner here.
And look, initially they were going to double team, but just man coverage here. Brandolph will start it off for the Spinners. Kind of giving him some space to work with. Hairnet grabs that one. And Bear, maybe a little rusty here, coming back from injury, just drops that one in the end zone. So New York with an opportunity just to punch it in. And they do.
Nice simple goal there on an isolation play to the front of the stack. Looked like it was Scott Zoo
It
from,
is.
I want to say Weintraub there.
Weintraub.
There's a little bit of glare here. It's kind of difficult to tell. But the execution here on the simple isolation play in the offense, that's what New York needs. Now they've got their first break on the board. And we'll see how they deal with that because they're going to get another chance to play on defense.
So Zoo with back-to-back scores here for the Rumble. Like you said, Dusty, first break of the game.
And that drop from Dave Bear was almost identical to the drop that we saw last night from Eric Salmi, where it's a situation you have a trusted player who has a very high catch percentage, doesn't drop many discs, but they're under a little bit of pressure from themselves mentally. So there's not a defender right on their back where they have to reach out with both hands and do that the claw catch rather than the pancake. But knowing that you don't have anyone near you can give you an opportunity to get your hands wide and give yourself a little more variance for the catch in these windy conditions.
Just trying to get out of the end zone can mess with your mind.
Absolutely can, because you're under the threat of a Callahan, you're under the threat of defenses running down, bearing down on you, the short stall count. Could be tight.
Short pull, putting Philadelphia just about at midfield. Good to see. That's Billy Sickles. I believe that's the first time we've seen him back in there since he was injured in the first quarter and makes that catch and gives it to Brandolph. So
yeah, looking no worse for wear.
Bear right back to Brandolph. We're under a minute now. Sickles in control, knocks his defender down. Brandolph gets around the mark, and ooh, nice catch there by Glazer. Ripped it away from Doyle, but this one's tipped, but it's tipped by Maida this time, and Bear recovers nicely and gets the goal.
The number of tip passes that Philadelphia seems to come down with this season, they may not just be the best team out here, they may also be the team that has the best luck, and that can take you a long way in sports. It's an excellent play there by Glazer to keep his hands on that disc. Looked like we were going to get a block there rather than just a catch into a goal, and then it looked like we were going to get a drop rather than a goal. The way this turns around can be so damaging, so exasperating for each team that makes, and each individual player that makes those errors.
That puts it up to 14-4, back to 10, as you see number 10, Jack Casey, getting set to go for the pull. Final 41 seconds left to go here in the first half. New York could somehow squeeze 2 scores out of this 41 seconds.
I think it's key for them just to get the one, and then maybe they'll get the chance for the other. Based on how they've been going so far this half, they really need the one.
Here we go. Casey's pull, a little bit better than New York's last one in the same direction. And Cannon starts it off. York swinging it back to Zoo. Zoo having some trouble getting away from Patel. That's a floaty dump, and it's taken down by Philadelphia.
About 20 seconds left to go here.
See if they try and milk the clock a little bit. Dump it back to Casey, and Casey just drops it.
10 seconds to score for New
got
York.
a cutter going downfield. They got to get it to him. Of course, the double team from Philadelphia coming over, and we have a whistle.
It's good patience. It looked like they may have been triple teamed there. So they get a 10-yard bonus, and they should get 10 seconds put back on the clock.
Double team is on, but they did not adjust the clock. That's why we have our second whistle.
Yeah, the refs are stopping it here to put 10 back up.
Clock operator on the far side of the field today. That's something, you can see it right there at midfield, right behind the Skippy sign.
It's actually a really advantageous foul for Philadelphia's part because there was an open player downfield, and now they have the defense set.
But it's a Cannon, and Cannon, this one
It's
is
6 seconds
float,
left.
and yeah, he rushed that. will get into the end zone, tipped a couple of times. Philadelphia knocks it away. And that is how the first half will come to a close. But like you said, Dusty, he had 6 seconds still. He probably could have.
He had an open player on the far side of the field that was just waiting for it. It looked like Meeser was over there, wanted to swing it over to the far side and then put the disc in from there. It's one of these things where you have to train yourself to be familiar with the clock.
So here we are at halftime, 14-4. We'll come back and break it down a little bit for you when we come back. Halftime here at Carey Stadium, 14-4. The Spinners over the Rumble, and we got the head coach of the Philadelphia Spinners, Daryl Stanley, down field side. Pretty good half there, Daryl.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, so it looks like one of the things that we're seeing from the Spinners right now on defense is every time that there's a floaty disc, everybody's going to the disc right away. What are you doing that's getting that out of your players right now?
Hey, absolutely. In practice, I mean, we talk about that all the time. I basically blow the whistle for situations like that. If we don't have hustle plays, if we're not all swarming on the disc, we blow the whistle and we talk about it. The other thing is against New York, we knew they have a lot of athletes, a lot of really good big throwers, and we wanted to make sure that we tried to take that away by hustling and preventing big throws.
Yeah, and one of the second ways that sort of hustle play is manifesting itself is we're seeing more and more of these tip disc plays that all seem to be going the Spinners' way. What is it that your players are doing to maintain their focus in those situations?
I think that is like half hustle and a lot of luck. I think that we got to just be even keeled for when those go our way and for when they don't go our way. And again, that's another thing that we talked about is just like making sure that you don't get too up and you don't get too down. So
that's the way you got to find that middle path and keep your head on your shoulders, so
Absolutely.
to speak.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've been seeing from your team is that there are a lot of players seeing the field in a lot of different roles. How do you use your depth in single game formats?
Basically, we try to come out really strong early on. We definitely think of matchups that we think are going to work, especially in the D line. And then as it gets on to the later quarters, we try to use our whole depth. Second, third quarter, and then fourth quarter we try to, dial it back in and see who our top 10 are and try to play them as much as possible. I've been very fortunate so far that the guys are executing the game plan really well. Fresh legs, a lot of veterans, and they're playing very smart ultimately right now.
And that's one of the best feelings as a coach is when you put something into effect and your players actually go out and do it. You're like, oh yes, they're doing it. We're on the same page here. That's great.
Yeah. They're making me look good.
Yeah, exactly. You need that. You need that buy-in.
Yeah.
So what are you guys going to do in the second half to make sure you don't let New York back into this game? It's only a 10-point deficit.
Yeah, I mean they've already shown the ability to come back against a lot of odds. I mean that game last night really showed what this New York team can do when they're fired up and when they're focused. And I don't want to get them into that situation. So we're going to try to come out strong third quarter in a similar way like we did in the first quarter, and then again keep rolling with our depth. I think if we can do that, if we can keep using all 25 guys, I think we'll be able to weather the inevitable storm from New York.
Yeah, it's been an excellent first half so far. Good luck in the second, and we'll catch up with you in a little bit.
Thanks, Dusty.
Thank you.
So Pretty good stuff there from Daryl Stanley, 14-4. His team well in control here at halftime. Canterbury, the official jersey sponsor here of the MLU in 2016. Make sure you head over to CanterburyUS.com to get your Canterbury jersey. Canterbury, committed to excellence. You planning a trip, a business trip, or need a party bus, minibus, or van? Make sure you head to busrental.com to plan your next outing. It's the safest, greenest way to travel. If you're going with a group, trust busrental.com. That's busrental.com. Back here at halftime, it's 14-4. Philadelphia over the New York Rumble, Dusty. It's been pretty much all spinners so far, and New York will have to mount one of those big comebacks that we've started to see as we take a look at some of the highlights here from the first half.
And this is where we started off the game with McCutcheon getting the block. And then we've got this up line pass. Easy sort of goal there for the larger player. Over the course of this, we're going to see a handful of these sort of 50-50 discs and floaty discs that Philadelphia is going to come down with. Or at least make the play on here as Chow gets his defensive chops under him in this game. Stops the two players there. We've got the hop pass from the hop catch from Doyle that immediately led to this. Again, you see here, Net takes off from right near the disc here and then makes the catch. I know the Diaz were running out of space here for New York, so we're seeing that New York is getting close to all of these plays. They're always right there next to Philadelphia when the plays are being made, but they're not quite getting the effort in. And this is one of my favorite tosses of the half.
This was great. I loved that one.
So much space up there for Bryant to just run onto.
Little give and go, and Chow did such a nice job of leading Bryant too.
And that play right there, like that really almost should have been Doyle's block. And then we have the continuation up past that to get the tip pass for the goal.
So 14-4 the score. You saw the highlights. Hopefully we'll get some more of those highlights when we come back at the start of the second half.
The team dynamic is just to have as much fun as possible.
It's an experience, man. You turn around and you look and there's this big giant animal running towards you.
When I first started commentating, it was kind of tough for me because it's like, well, I can be out there too. I can play with these guys. Well, why am I up here in the booth?
Jeff Grant he's a freaking monster. He can sort of just do it all, you know?
A few of my students were like, we saw you on the bus. I was like, I don't ride the bus. No, you're on the side of the bus.
Back here at Carey Stadium at halftime, 14-4, Spinners and the Rumble. In week 3 action on MLU Live, Jeff Poster, Dusty Rhodes, and Dusty, we had some keys to the game that we talked about in the first half. Let's revisit those here. New York, well, they came off a hot game last night, but so far not executing probably the way they would want to be.
Yeah, but the way that we have to look at these weekends where you have 2 games are you need to come out with a win. If you avoid going 0-2 in every 2-game weekend, you'll be set up for success. So they got the first part of that. And the concern that I'm having about their team right now is they may be totally satisfied already. Like just getting that first win and just getting that big comeback may have set them into this game with a false sense of confidence and a false sense of achievement. They need to attack this game the same way that they attacked that second half, that fourth quarter yesterday in order to get back into this.
And Philadelphia, who was coming in 3-0 and last game out 21-18 win over DC. Pretty similar score to what New York accomplished at DC last night. They are clicking on all cylinders here, is the way that we've seen all season, it seems.
Yeah, they've run out to a good early start, and at the very beginning in the first game or two, we were curious if that was just a result of the early season or the other teams not being as prepared as they were or not being as cohesive yet. But what we're seeing is that this Philadelphia team plays with a sense of purpose and a sense of aggression on defense specifically that leads them to success repeatedly. They're giving effort on every catch, whether it's tipped, whether there's a deflection. No matter what's going on, they're putting forth the effort. And that's the key to having luck go your way. And that's the key to being ready to make a play that you didn't know that you needed to be in position to make.
Well, if I'm New York, I would say the safe bet, and you can tell me if I'm right. Just those simple throws have got to start being completed. That's where they've made their most errors, and Philadelphia's got a lot of catch Ds, and they've been immediately putting them in for scores after.
Yeah, they've got to stop floating up passes. They have to stop being caught still playing offense once Philadelphia gets the disc or just before Philadelphia gets the disc. It's that ability that Philadelphia has displayed all season to attack right after the turn that has caught caught New York most unaware so far in this game.
Our players to watch from the beginning of the game. Sean Mott has had some trouble here, as well, all of New York really getting going. Matt Esser has been very good defensively, and he got involved a little bit on the offensive side when we saw Billy Sickles go down as well. So 2 guys, we'll keep an eye on them as we go. When we come back, though, first pull of the second half, 14-4, Philly on top of New York. Back here at Carey Stadium, once again, 14-4 as we get set to start. Second half action, New York has got to find some sort of answer on offense. I mean, their defense, while they've given up 14 points, we have seen them come over and make some blocks and do a little bit there here and there.
They've given up 11 of those 14 points on their offensive side. So their defensive team isn't really getting an opportunity to get out there and make their chances. Philadelphia is 3 for 4 on holds right now. So they've been broken once out of 4 times, whereas New York is 3 for 14. So both the two teams have the same number of holds, but the number of breaks is a 10-goal difference. And that is literally the entire difference in the game right now, is that New York's offense is culpable for almost their entire deficit.
Well, in their first matchup, which was on April 9th, the final score we mentioned earlier was 22-12. Again, same
number
amount
of
of
holds.
holds, but the break difference was 13-3 in favor of Philadelphia.
Which is where we're at right now.
Similar story seems to be. Except at the end of the halftime in that one, it was 10-5, where we got 14-4. So Philadelphia, a much bigger gap, but those were worse conditions too. This is, I mean, it's a little windy, but not enough to really destroy the flow of the game. And Philadelphia's not had much issue with the wind at all.
Yeah, they've been a little more conscientious on what sort of passes they're taking. A lot of the passes that they're taking right now are to players who are cutting upfield, like an upline cut, but not necessarily an upline cut, more in the center of the field, and then breaking off horizontally. So they're just waiting for the defender to move with them and then changing their angle a little bit, and they're getting the pass really early on in that cut. As a result of that, they don't even have to look deep very often because it's unnecessary. They're not making hard undercuts so much as they're making good cross-field horizontal cuts. And doing that has made their offense look way better and way more organized than New York's offense, which is relying on deep cuts, hard undercuts, and then a reset offense that's getting disrupted by Philadelphia's defense as well as their mark.
So what we've learned, if you're looking to get into ultimate analysis, is if you win the battle of the breaks, you'll probably win the game.
This is the fundamental lesson for Frisbee. Don't get broken.
Don't get broken.
Your offense can
Don't throw
only
turns.
lose the game. Your defense can only win the game.
I like that. Well, we'll see what New York's defense will do to start the third. And looks like they will be pulling as Philadelphia's O-line is out there. New York sometimes tough to tell which line they've got out there. What Coach Nunez and Coach Murray have said, they do more of like a chemistry type of line with the young team trying to figure out their way. So we see guys a lot of times that play both sides of the disc.
It's definitely the most difficult team to make assumptions about who's going to be on, specifically for their offensive side. The defensive side is a little more predictable because they have a couple players who simply don't play defense as far as I can tell. I don't mean not defense, they don't play on the defensive side of the disc. I should be very clear about how I meant that. Here we're going with Matt Wilson's big opening pull for this second half.
And he's a guy that we've seen out there offensively as well.
Yeah.
Reeled in by Bear, and he'll get it right up to Haranet.
Working out of a side stack here. Sickles is the isolated cutter.
Bear with a flick. Very high, but Glazer skies up and grabs it. Pana. Pana will send it deep for Meta. Meta trying to outrace his defender. He leaps, and neither player can get up for that one. Just a mistimed jump. Christian Doez right there with Meta the whole way.
It's one of the first 50-50 discs that we've seen Philadelphia not come down with, and this is a good opportunity for New York.
Wilson will try it, and Doez at the other end, and he lays out. It's still up in the air, but that's a Herculean effort for New York's trailer to try and get down there for what I believe was Meeser.
I was impressed that that disc got all the way down there and that Doez kept Himalaya off of his running path. Yet by slowing down, he had to make that extra bit at the end. But I think if he didn't change his path into the defender's way, then he wouldn't have had a clean bid on it anyway. It would have been a block.
So both teams already here early in the third have gambled on some hucks and have not worked out. Pana gets it up to Brandoff, a one-handed grab for him. Glazer.
Getting some solid reset defense here from New York.
Meta throws one up with the wind, and you can definitely see it affecting the disc. It comes way back down, but into Bears' hands. And then all alone, as New York chased the disc, was Sickles in for the score.
Very good job by Dave Bayer to track that disc as it went up. That's sort of the third air-mailed pass we've seen from Philadelphia where they lean back on their flicks. And you can't even see him in the play here, but Dave Bayer was reading this the whole way. I thought it was going to be Hironet who came down with it. But then the vision of Bayer to quickly flick the disc all the way across the field to Sickles, who was totally uncovered, as his player probably got involved in that floaty disc scenario. That was excellent on Dave Bayer's part to verify that this is not just a catch for him. He's going to turn it into an assist and a goal.
That's Billy's second goal of the game, 6 on the year now for him. He's got 15 points now, goals and assists. Trying to follow up his Rookie of the Year campaign from 2015. We go with Jack Casey's pull, and New York looking for answers still. Had an opportunity to get a break that last time and couldn't get it done.
The timing between New York's handlers and cutters is a little off. As we saw,
And they throw it away again.
O'Connor was just running underneath Canetti's cut there across the field. It's an ill-advised throw.
And he'll get the goal. Tom O'Connor, who's been kind of a surprise here for Philadelphia in the early part of the season. Take a look again.
The thing that led us to this scenario where Canetti was matched up one-on-one against O'Connor in the end zone was that the inability of New York's offensive throwers to maintain contact with their downfield players. So Mott eventually got open in the cutting lane, but by that point, they had already engaged their reset a little bit early. So if they'd waited a little bit longer and stuck with their downfield look, they probably would have had a completion upfield. But you get a little bit nervous and you want to take the safe play. Sometimes the safe play is sticking with the more difficult play, as it turns out.
Well, New York falling down by 12 now. 16-4 with 8:03 left.
And this is exactly what Coach Stanley talked about. They wanted to come out in the second half hard and attack right away. That's exactly what they've gotten. They've gotten 2 quick goals against New York.
Just keep your foot on the gas. New York centers it with Alati. Far side, Wilson. Wilson with a flick, and that just looked effortless from Marquez Brownlee, the way he went up for that one over the defense. It just seemed so easy to come down for that score as he did.
Part of that is placement on the throw by Wilson, because you can see the defender would have to go through Brownlee to get that, and Brownlee at 6'3", long-limbed, is going to be able to go up and make that catch pretty solidly and easily.
Yeah, just went up there, caught it with the right hand, and said, no big deal, I got it. 16-5. New York needs more of that.
Right. Again, it's a cross-field throw. We've seen success from them on cross-field throws.
Wilson again.
A lot of that has to do with the way that defenders, even though they know the field is large and there's a lot of space to cover, you just sort of forget about exactly where you need to get to and how quickly the disc can get there as well.
4th goal on the year for Brownlee. He's had a couple of blocks today. Mentioned he came into the game leading the league in blocks with 9. Got 6 of them against Boston last week.
Philadelphia working out of a more horizontal look here.
Good defensive bid, just missed against Sickles.
Ooh.
And that player's getting all sorts of tangled up, and we do have a foul.
Definitely a foul. It's right on the verge of a ban, but right on the verge.
It was Meta who got taken out at the legs. So the wind picks up again. Sickles reels it in with the left hand. And now looks to throw it and puts it in. A line drive shot into the end zone. And that's Glazer.
And you could see the trepidation in Glazer when he catches this pass. It comes in, Sickles it just knifes it into him. And you can see the way that he's reacting to the disc, hopping up and down, sort of protecting his face, and yet still trying to make the catch. It's one of those moments where you know that you're open and you know how the pass has to get there, but you're worried about it because getting hit in the face with a disc when you're attempting to catch a goal is very embarrassing. And you know that everyone expects you to catch it.
Embarrassing and painful.
And once your brain starts churning in the background instead of just catching the Frisbee, that's when you know it's a danger zone.
Sickles threw that in like a submariner pitcher on an MLB team, the way he came down with that. He's that lefty.
Rather than the Submariner, one of the forgotten superheroes.
Exactly. Forgotten for a reason.
Hey, him and Aquaman, you can't get rid of them.
17-5, 7:04 left to go. And New York trying to answer back, as they have been most of the day. Bosco sends it around. That's Meeser. Bosco elevates for that one, which is what New York has had trouble doing, those ones that float up on just simple swing throws, and he reels that one in. Go to your veteran, I guess.
Yep. Generally, as you increase the number of years that you've played, the better you are at just catching those high floaty passes without even necessarily having to jump.
O'Connor sends it around to Zoo. Back to O'Connor.
Philadelphia is really active on defense. I like seeing that. Even when they're poaching and recovering aggressively.
Bosco threads it through to Zoo. Zoo looking to put it in, and Meeser was led a little bit too much.
Yeah, that's that inside break is something that if you throw it well, it's a perfect goal, but you have to throw it almost perfectly in order to throw it well.
Here we go for Philadelphia. Abe Colton starting it off. McCutcheon. And a whistle downfield. And you see Bosco down on one knee. Did not see what happened.
We had some contact or something along the lines of a pick or running into someone near the vertical stack that Philadelphia had set up there. The cutter that Bosco was covering was sort of sprinting through an area where there were a lot of different players.
Rule the pick, so Philadelphia will back up 10 yards. Bosco seems to be okay as he comes off the field. They take him out anyway. Cannon comes in.
It looks like that moment where you get the wind knocked out of you, or you just get a little disoriented or whatever after you get smacked a little bit accidentally.
Philadelphia dumps it back to Tom O'Connor, who is being covered by Andrew O'Connor. No relation, as far as I know.
Interesting little interaction here between the mark and the thrower.
This is a Blady put at Zoo gets up for and takes it away. Canetti. And more contact against Philadelphia.
Yeah, there's contact on the mark there. And Canetti gets the disc back. It looked really similar to what Colton and he were doing when Colton had the disc.
Meeser deep. They looked like they were looking at him, but said dump it back to Cannon.
It's just not a threatening offense right now for New York. It's players standing still in a vertical stack. And then handlers sort of getting involved when they get called on.
Well, we got a whistle. New York going to benefit from that call. I don't think that was going to be a catch anyway.
Yeah, it was going to be a tough catch for Mott. There was definitely some contact there, but it looked like both players were sort of redirecting themselves and trying to figure out where exactly to catch that disc.
And trying to put it into a very small amount of space to Meeser, and he was looking for a call and doesn't get it either after the throw from Zoo. Zoo's having a tough time right on the goal line putting these in.
To be fair, I can't tell if Meeser was looking for a call there or wondering why that pass was thrown, because that's the second one that was a little dicey that was thrown to him where he didn't have an opportunity to make the play on it.
McCutcheon shakes off Colton. It's been a pretty long point here. And another pick against Philadelphia.
I didn't see the pick happen, and I can't tell where the Philadelphia players were close enough to cause a pick. But we'll go back 10 yards here. And they'll just throw it
out to
nobody.
space.
Nice.
That's a catch.
This is what we're talking about. It's those effort plays. It's the hustle plays. It's sticking with the disc until it's actually down rather than assuming it will be down soon.
Wind picking up again, and the spinners looking deep. This will hang and give them an opportunity who had a late jump on it. Hangs back.
So there's 3 spinners there and 1 Rumble player. Those 3 spinners came from somewhere and were covered by somebody. The Rumble are not committing to getting this disc in the air. This is why Philadelphia's winning.
And they call a timeout here, I believe, right after the catch from O'Connor. So substitutions coming out for Philadelphia.
So on this play here with the replay on Mott, there was definitely a bump there. And here it looks like there was a nice play defensively in the end zone. And this is the catch on the side here. This is what we're talking about. You stick with it the whole way through. And now we'll get one final look here. We float this pass up. This is the first New York player down. These are 3 other spinners.
Yep. These are the only guy. Take the timeout as well. Philadelphia looking for their 18th here when we come back. 3:25 left in the third. Back here, Carey Stadium, Philadelphia looking for their 18th point of the day. And they've got 17 now with 3:25 left to go and a 12-goal lead over the Rumble, 17-5. Rumble just not seem to be very involved with it today.
Well, they're forcing it on offense, and when they have opportunities to make plays on defense, they're not always coming up with it, and it's not a recipe that's going to work together for your success. I like the effort that they keep giving, but that level of frustration that you can see bubbling up just underneath, it's actual and it's there, and they need to find a way to deal with it.
So Philadelphia used their first time out here the second half, right on the goal line too, after O'Connor made that catch. So they'll put out their offense. Given their history and their experience, should be pretty quick, just easy put in. But we'll see what New York counters with.
I mean, as we often see here, it's most likely going to be in isolation to the first player in the vertical stack, which in this place looks like it's going to be Glazer. And they have Bayer and Brandolph set up as their twin resets.
And they put it to Glazer, and he's got it.
It's the sort of thing where the mark has to slow that pass down or make it hop up or something, because the defensive player can't cover both sides for 25 yards all that well.
So, easy substitution for the spinners. Hairnet, Glazer. It's a winning combination that they've been going to for years. And it's 18-5 with 3:20 left to go.
That was a 4-minute point.
A very long point.
I didn't even realize as it was going on there.
And it ends up as a Philadelphia goal, which we have said a few times today.
The fact that they got all that time off the clock is all a benefit for Philadelphia. The shorter this game gets, the better for them in terms of making sure New York can't get a comeback, and also in terms of practicing for them. So when do they want to control the score? When do they want to control the time of the clock? What is it to play from ahead in the MLU, and how is Philadelphia going to learn how to do that over the course of this season?
That was the second goal of the day for Glazer. He had 6 in the first game against New York this season. Now he's got 11 on the year. Takes over as the leader on the team as Rumble throw that one away again.
Can't tell if that was a drop or a missed throw there.
Philadelphia looking for another break. This is going to be tough for Esser. Not going to get there as it sails out the back.
I mean, it's obvious what the thrower is going for there, but the execution from Casey looks like it was lacking severely, because Esser was very open, and it just had to be on the field. Looks like Philadelphia is using more of a forced middle defense here to clog up what New York's doing.
Oladi and Cannon so far the only two to touch the disc for New York here. And now Cannon having a lot of trouble getting around the defense of Wickens. And now New York, this will carry in the wind a bit if they can get to it. Leaping up, catch is not made.
You know, that time there were only 2 Philadelphia defenders and 1 New York offensive player.
What a layout bid there for Cannon, though.
Great
There's
work.
the effort you're looking for.
Great work on his part, because the disc got all the way down here.
He's open.
And he took advantage of, caught his own pass there after the point block. Good focus, but New York's losing yardage.
And you had Cannon wide open after he got that layout block. They couldn't get it to him. And then they drop it. Blady throw, and is not brought down by
it's the second turnover that Oladi's been involved in on that point.
That's a foul.
The first one was just a little imperfect throw. The second one there was a bit of a drop, but it was on a second effort.
So Esser takes the 10 yards that Eladi gives him. Now 2 New York defenders back, and I don't know if anyone actually touched that one or not. But
So it's a win for the defense.
Defensive presence does enough. Try and keep it away from Ethan Peck.
It was good read there by the defense to get 2 defenders over to that spot. It wasn't a very complex play by Philadelphia. Esser looked down the same sideline, had the cut come from that sideline, and got a second help defender over the top.
Timeout called by the Rumble as they look to sub it out, and we'll take a break too. 1:05 left to go. It's 18-5, Philadelphia. Inside the Philadelphia huddle here at Carey Stadium, Spinners have got to feel good. They've got an 18-5 lead with 1:05 left to go in this third quarter. And they've only managed, Dusty, to score 4 times so far in this quarter, given the way they played the others.
Yeah, and New York's only got 1 goal in this quarter so far. It's we saw a little replay of that deep block by the 2 by the 2 Philadelphia players. A great underblock by Cannon. A hand block, caught his own hand block.
Effort there from O'Connor to stick with it. Then unfortunately,
got slightly distracted by the dizzy bat run here down in front of us.
Entertainment still going on here at Carey Stadium. There's a pretty good crowd here on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, in this one, the stands to go up to the same level that we're at, so we can't just look ahead of us. We got to make sure that we get the full view of all the folks out here.
That's right. We are in the elements here at Carey Stadium. Just a roof over our heads, but we are right here with all the fans.
Oh, but now it's a beautiful day. Unlike the last time we were out here, I'm not trying to just put my hands in the sun to make sure I can feel them. I'm just enjoying it.
We're getting there. We're right here about to start the final week of April and turn the page in the calendar to May. And we should have some beautiful weather the rest of this season.
New York starting about 15 yards from a cone here on their own end zone, coming out in a vertical stack. They're probably getting an isolated cut here from Hunziker to start.
Bo Lee back out there. I haven't seen him in a little while. Starts it off. New York.
It's a good mark there.
Bosco gets knocked down, no call. Now there's a whistle and a stall.
It seemed just on the verge of a little fast, considering some of the other ones that weren't called earlier today. But that's probably a stall. I just think that's just a sense of comparing the two.
I'm going to readjust the clock here.
So we're going back up to 43 seconds. Philadelphia setting up in a very clean vertical stack here. I'm going to bet that they go with the reset up the line to start here from number 93.
Yeah, Bryant will start it, and that's Wickens, 93.
No, went
Bryant
isolation.
just put it in.
Went straight to Greg Martin on the isolation from the back of the stack. No help defense to get back over there. Precision pass eliminated the defense from the play.
Well, if it's there, you take it, right?
Yeah, and what he did is he had enough space to get out there and isolate his cutter defender in enough of an area that the thrower just had to choose where to put it. Put enough arc on it, put enough bank on it to make sure that the defense can't catch up while it's in the air. Verify your short field goal. Scoring short field goals makes the rest of this sport so easy.
Greg Martin has been quite the surprise here for the Spinners in the early part of the season as he gets a goal here. That is his first of the day. He's got 7 on the year, along with 3 assists and 5 blocks entering the day. Philadelphia looking to have the Rookie of the Year award for the 3rd season in a row. Keep churning out good new young talent. Matt Esser in 2014, Billy Sickles in 2015. Of course, we couldn't have a Rookie of the Year in 2013, as everybody was a rookie.
And then Sean from New York is making an early season case for that Rookie of the Year award as well. New York's got 33 seconds to score here.
Wilson puts it up right away. Brownlee, this will carry into the end zone. Oh, and he tried to pancake the disc, and it bobbles in between his hands, and he ends up with a drop.
Now Philadelphia's got 16 seconds to try to get down the field here. Again, the key for them is to avoid a short field turnover and giving it right back to New York.
Get around the mark. Just try to get it out of the end zone at the very least.
Well, they can just stand with it now, which is their right choice.
They're going to put up a hammer anyway. Fall into palm of New York. They knock it down, and that's the way the third comes to a close.
Interesting to throw that hammer. If you're worried about your completion percentage, you want to keep that up. You don't want to take that extra throw because you're not going to get a shot at a goal. It's just going to be a completion or an incompletion. I don't know. How are you going to negotiate your next contract if you don't get your completion percentage up?
Everyone's a free agent at the end of the season. So that's the way the third comes to a close. Philadelphia gets a couple more. 19-5 is the score. Spinners all over the Rumble. Innova is proud to support Major League Ultimate and its incredible athletes. As the official disc of the MLU, the Innova Pulsar has quickly become the disc of choice at Ultimate's highest level. Visit innovadiscs.com to find a dealer near you. Skippy, the official peanut butter of the MLU, made with the funnest peanuts ever. Skippy Yippee! The Spinners are saying yippee today, Dusty. They're going to be 4-0.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it's really fun to make those 50-50 plays. To come down with a disc that your opponent thinks that they have a shot at, or to come down with a disc that has bounced off of a player or has been redirected in some way. Those are those moments where you can feel it welling up. You're like, oh, I'm going to go make this play. I'm going to go make this play. And then you get it. It's a moment of exaltation. So, yeah, of course they're feeling a little bit of the Skippy Yippee today. Going out and making those plays just gets you in a wonderful mood to make those plays, to see those plays being made.
Well, they should feel good, too, and most likely improving to 4-0 this season. The only other team in the league at 4-0 is the Portland Stags, who defeated the San Francisco Dogfish last night. Seattle, the Rainmakers, putting the Nighthawks to 0-4 last night. And as we talked about here, the Rumble defeating the Current last night. And Boston, the only team on the bye week this weekend. We'll be in Boston next week as the Current have their first road game traveling up to Boston. Never exactly the most fun trip. It's a long bus ride from D.C. to Boston.
Well, yeah, you have to go through all those other cities on the way up, like, say, Philadelphia and New York. Just thinking about the games that you had against them on the way up. It'll be my first trip up to Boston this season as well. I'm always excited to go up there. I like the environment that they have. I actually like the stadium.
It's a home opener, too.
I've grown on it a little bit, even though they have the windmill in the background and the basketball court that you can see from the from the stadium.
Home opener for the Whitecaps at Windmill Stadium again this year for the
excited to see who they can get out.
Yeah, it seems like it's late. I think they're the only team who hasn't played at home yet.
Yeah.
So it should be a good crowd there. Of course, the big feature this season, and one of the teams that'll be taking part of it is right here today, is the interconference games or interleague games, however you want to refer to them as. Boston will host Portland on May 21st, and on May 14th, these very same New York Rumble you're watching today will get to head out to the Bay Area in San Francisco to take on the Dogfish.
That should be exciting.
San Francisco is going to be the surprise team of the season. That's my prediction.
I think it's a good pick. I think it's a good choice on your part to look at their roster and look at what they were putting together last year and be excited about what they can do this season.
Well, we'll see what the Rumble can do in the remaining now 9:37 left in the game. And right now moving backwards towards their own end. Finally swing it out to Meeser. Meeser back to Patton. New York just swinging the disc here. And that is caught. Was caught below the knees, but New York digs it out. Now finally getting to some open space in the field, and they let this one loose for Zoo, and coming from behind defensively for the Spinners was number 29, Arcata. Again, he's been phenomenal today.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate call. Made a good play and a good attempt on the disc. Too much contact down below the disc, though.
So it was a good read from him, but just too much contact. So New York gets the disc back.
Yeah, and to be fair, he was trying to make an almost impossible play there.
Come lay out over the top of a player. You'd have to be able to fly.
Bosco using the elbow there to get his mark off of him.
Now he's got it back, still just shy of the end zone, and there they go. They put it in. First time New York has gotten the disc to start a quarter today, and they've been able to score, as the goal is taken in by Sean Mott.
Yeah, did a good job of presenting a valid target there for Bosco, who was just looking for a simple, easy goal, or was going to go back to his reset options pretty early. Mott realized the scenario, used where his positioning was in relationship to the mark and to the thrower to make a nice, easy inside throw for Bosco for the goal.
So that makes it 19-6, 8:27 is a minute and a half basically was killed off during that last point.
We were just talking about this. We think that the fewest points scored is actually 6 by New York against the Boston Whitecaps.
2014.
I think it was 23-6. So we're looking at it now, and New York's got 8 minutes and 27 seconds to make sure that they do better than that.
They've had two quarters today where they've only scored once, the first and the third. So scored 3 in the second.
And here we saw Maeda earlier on in their offense here off of the pull play. He started close to the disc as opposed to being a downfield cutter. It's always good to change up what the defense is looking at, even if you're having success.
Glazer will send it up to Maeda, to Sickles in space, and now looking for Panna streaking down the field, and he's going to get this one easily. Michael Panna into the end zone, piling it on here for the Spinners from Sickles.
It's another situation where the cut that Panna, or the score that Panna eventually got there, he had been making an open cut for a good 30 or 40 yards with his guy neither gaining nor losing ground on him. You should see him right here. That's a 5-yard or 4-yard cushion for 3 or 4 consecutive passes.
He
and
just
all
kept chugging along there.
And what that takes is trusting your teammates to be able to work it up that sideline and trust in your speed that you can maintain your advantage over your defender and he's not going to close in on you. The throw from Sickles there is actually a little more difficult than it looks. It's an outside-in flick going upwind a little bit. You need to make sure it sits and doesn't dive back towards the player too much, and you need to make sure it has enough outside in that the edge doesn't get caught and blown off the far side of the field from us. Excellent play there from the Spinners to work up that far sideline.
Matt Michelson with the pull for Philadelphia. This one falling quickly.
Very poorly
passed.
fielded. He touched it. He's going to be all the way in the end zone there.
I believe that's O'Connor.
Tense here for New York. Back in the corner.
Cannon helps him get it out, and now they're out of the end zone. And they'll put a huck deep and D'd up by Philadelphia. Michelson who made the pull, throws it up.
And immediately completes that first pass. That's what we're talking about when we talk about transition offense for your D team.
Bryce Dunn reeled in that last catch, dropped it back for Vendetta. We're talking a lot of names today that you haven't heard over because they're new players for Philadelphia, and there's a hit from behind. There'll be a foul.
It's a tough situation when you're trying to set the mark from behind the player. You don't necessarily know which way he's going to pivot. It looked like a totally accidental bump there, but still a really significant amount of contact at a very inopportune moment.
It's done again. We'll start off with the disc, and good cut.
Looks like we're going to have a delay of game here. Going to move back 10 yards because he threw the disc before it was actually whistled into play. Led into it a little bit by his receiver, who was very, very open on that up line cut.
That was Gabe Colton, who's trying to do it again. Now he comes back for a dump. And right back to Dunn.
Good switch there from the mark and the downfield defender from New York.
New York pushing Philadelphia back, and now they've double teamed up on Colton, but commit a foul.
Looked like it was contact there by, I couldn't tell which of the two players was making the contact there, if it was on the step back or on the initial fake up line.
And that's caught for a goal.
It's a really dangerous bid there at the end, just as that pass was being caught. Didn't really have an opportunity to make a play on that disc, so I'm not sure what Mistos was doing there as he made the bid.
That's Dunn who gets the score.
Yeah, there's just an unnecessary play there. I know that he's trying to make the play and they're down and they're trying to get back into the game, but you have to maintain composure and make sure that you don't put yourself or other players at risk.
Another break for Philadelphia. Makes it 21-6 with 6:18 left to go. And I started to say during the middle of that point, it's guys' names that we've not called over the years for Philadelphia that are getting it done today. A lot of their D-line guys, Bryant, Dunn, Arcata, Michelson. Lindsey's been involved, but he's a guy that we've seen through the years here with the Spinners. But a lot of new faces here and just picking up the mantle here that the Spinners have had over the years.
And as we talked about it with Coach Stanley a little bit, it's not just having strong players on your team, not just having depth, but using your depth and cultivating your depth. Those players need to see the field in order to figure out how to play at that level.
One guy that is dressed today but has not appeared for the Spinners is Trey Katzenbach, who is a leader on and off the field. He could play, but they're trying to hold him out, as well as a couple other guys who just dealing with some nagging injuries through their bye week next week.
And this is another floating pass.
Nice grab.
Well grabbed by Meeser.
Elevated and skied for that one.
It's the sort of thing where you have to protect your players from themselves. If they're able to play but would play through injury, you kind of have to sit them down for their own good rather than letting them go out there because they believe they can.
Right. Well, there it is. New York gets past that 6-goal mark as they get their 7th. Bosco and Meeser connecting. Back-to-back assists there for Bosco. Take a look again. This is the offense they needed all day, though.
And that's how you punish face guarding in the end zone. If you see a player who's playing defense on one of your teammates in the end zone and you can read their name and number on the back of their jersey, all you have to do is throw it to your teammate, and that player will not have an opportunity to make a play. It's one of those critical errors that that is valid defense on other parts of the field, but once you get to the end zone, cannot face guard. You have to see the Frisbee.
21-7. New York with a pull. Brandoff will reel this one in.
Going for a side stack here. So misdirection play, throw it back towards the side you're stacked on.
And then they move back to the middle, and now Glazer just took off. And he goes right into the end zone, and a great put by Bear. He's got to feel good to be back on the field.
That play call there and the execution of that play call, again, this is what we were talking about at halftime with Coach Stanley, is that you can call the beautiful play all you want, but until your players execute it, it's irrelevant. We see this throw here by Bear, and that's kind of a classic example of Dave Bear executing a strong throw downfield. But Glazer was one of the players who started on this same sideline as they swung the disc toward the side that we're on, he peeled out toward the other sideline, cleared space, and then continued all the way downfield for that continuation. That's one way to manufacture easy looks at the end zone, is to give a little bit of misdirection and have that misdirection lead into your play rather than just giving it a second option or sort of a subpar look for your offense. You have to design it so you get something ideal out of that misdirection.
He did it in about 10 seconds, too.
Yeah.
It's nice and quick.
Getting these, not only is that quick for the offense, that's quick for Glazer getting all the way down the field, covering that much ground. And it puts New York right back on the field with their offense. This is what we talk about every week with MLU, where if you can score quickly and put the other team right back on offense, you have a better chance at a break.
Wilson try to send a huck downfield. Well, he sends it downfield and then reaching up, skying over the defense. What a catch there for Philadelphia. That was number 50, Andrew Misthos.
So he did what we were talking about for all these Spinners players earlier on, is he went up early and dominated the matchup. As we see 33 getting back into the screen here, he's already up by the time the defender jumps. It's all about trying to figure out how you can catch the disc at your highest point before your opponent has thought about catching it at his highest points. Great individual play by Misthos. Great trust on the part of Wilson to put the disc down there and for New York to come up with it. Now it looks like they're going to be calling a timeout to try to get a couple more points back into this game. So we'll see how that plays out.
We'll step away here. Timeout, 22-8 now. Philadelphia on top. Philadelphia inside their huddle right there as they have a 22-8 lead and looking for more. With 5:13 left to go in the game, New York has called their second timeout here of the second half. And we'll get the midfield pull. So still just trying to work on things despite what will probably end up being considered a blowout victory. Really, New York did not start this game off very well. Got down 5-0 and just never was able to really recover.
So Philadelphia went on a 5-point run to start. Then they later went on another 5-point run at the end of the first quarter into the second quarter. And they've gone on a 3-point run, another 3-point run, a couple 2-point runs. It's a scenario where New York hasn't figured out how to stop Philadelphia once they get one break. They're in a scenario where the breaks come in bunches like bananas.
The banana bunch of Philadelphia Spinners.
Like the wild bunch, right?
Right.
No. Yes? No. Maybe.
They're a bunch of some sort. Bunch of good ultimate players.
Yeah, they're showing it
at the very, very basic level.
There's something about this Philadelphia team this season. When they're playing well, they display that confidence very overtly and very confidently, just overall throughout their team. So one player makes a play and everybody gets ready to make a play.
Be curious to see when they match up with Boston again, how they respond or how Boston responds losing down here, who did not have their full complement of players. While they had the core of the team, that'll be the key matchup to watch here in the East. Long passing. Look at, there goes Glazer again. Except that foot from Sickles is a little bit out of bounds. Just a bit outside, I like to say.
So yeah, he just kind of missed the field. It happens. One of the things that Philadelphia did there really well was after they got pushed back into the end zone by the pull, they isolated Sickles and Glazer on that far side of the field, and after they pulled all the defenders in, threw over the top of the defense.
Brownlee catches that one. Mott. Zoo looked like he was turning to wind up a big backhand. Wilson, who had been doing that all day, doesn't go for that one. There's Doyle. New York, pretty effective here so far, moving the disc. Mott will swing it back again. Meeser.
A little bit of a messy offense here right now for New York.
And a whistle downfield is a pick.
They're looking like it should be a vertical stack, but while they're not quite in a strict vertical stack, they're not taking advantage of the spaces that they're creating by being in sort of a hybrid vertical horizontal stack.
And that one bobbled by Wilson.
It's a tough way for that to get up away from the body and have a little bit of hop on it. And here we see Philadelphia is attacking right away after this turn. There's no rest for New York's team.
Panna has it, gets it up to Sickles. Sickles, a lot of space, no mark on him. Back to Panna. Looks to put it in, and this time Glazer will get it. Just took him a little bit longer this time to get it to Glazer.
Yeah, you just keep making open cuts to the end zone, waiting for one of your teammates to find you. And eventually, we see another little face guard there, and then we see Panna find Glazer for yet another goal. The way that he keeps moving on the field and readjusting what his defenders have to deal with, that'd be tough even if he wasn't as fast as he is. But he's also incredibly fast, changes direction very easily, keeps his defender's head moving, losing track of the disc, and then trying to figure out where to prevent the goal that is certainly going to come soon to Glazer.
Well, he's got 4 on the day now. Said he had 6 in the first matchup. And he's just taken over the, well, I said that earlier, he took over the leading scorer here from Philadelphia. It was Himalaya Maeda coming into the weekend, and now Glazer has assumed the top spot and is one of the league leaders in points and goals scored. And he did that last year, too. Started off the season on fire, scoring a lot. Got a little more quiet as the year went on, but definitely a guy who can rack up points.
Yeah, when he finds a team that is having difficulty covering him, they don't seem to have a solution. But there are other Philadelphia players who are more than competent at scoring goals. However, they're also just getting blocks in the reset area here.
Jack Casey.
Again, they've already got Martin in the end zone for their first look. Whether they choose to take that or not, that puts pressure on the defense.
Now they'll take it, and Martin, between 2 defenders, gets another score. Greg Martin makes it 24-8 with 2:35 left to go. Philadelphia has just executed perfectly today.
The 2 help defenders there for New York were trying to close down to the area, but the pass was put in such a way that Martin was the only one who was going to get there. It's total success today for Philadelphia. They're going to be up at 4-0 right now. New York looks like they don't belong on the same field with them in this game today, and that's the feel that we've had generally but from the opponents of Philadelphia, is that they are outclassed. That is what tells me that Philadelphia is the class of the East this season in the MLU.
They will take a bye next week. Instead, DC will be up in Boston for that matchup.
Yeah, I'll be lucky enough to call 2 DC games next week, and neither one of them in DC.
And then on your way home.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll stop in New York. Well, New Jersey again.
I miss New Jersey just like I miss New York. That's okay by me.
Kind of the New Jersey Rumble this year. And that one, try to go downfield on the huck, a little low, and just kind of cut off. They were trying to get it to Finkler.
Small area to throw in there with a defender closing pretty quickly there in Esser. We see there again, Philadelphia tends to send that first reset straight up line and then fill back into that area with a cutter.
Esser swings it around, far side, that's Vendetta. They'll send it deep, looking for Bryce Dunn. New York's trailer defender trying to overtake him, and Dunn got a hand on it and just couldn't hold on. Good defensive presence, I guess, from New York.
It was good defensive presence in that it made Dunn alter his course to box out the defender a little bit, but he was so focused on boxing out and making sure that he didn't get D'd that he didn't have enough mental energy left to make the actual catch.
Mislos, who just caught that last disc, was the man defending for New York.
Oh, I thought O'Connor was going to get that block.
Bo Lee will put it up for Brownlee. One-on-one matchup, 50-50 disc, and Brownlee elevates and gets the score. Oh no, he's just shy.
No one was sure exactly there. Lindsay got up to mark, and then he wasn't marking. Lindsay did just about all he could do to prevent Brownlee from getting a run at the disc, and still Brownlee found enough space that he could get 2 steps to go up. And not only that, he didn't even quite get up off the ground, but was able to sort of snake around where Lindsay was and get his hand up high enough early enough. See, Lindsay tries to get back and get a little bit of body on him, and Brownlee still finds a way to go up and get it.
He's got such a long stride that he had to slow down. He had already been down there and wait for a while for the disc, but then...
Well, and that's what we're seeing with a lot of the throws today, specifically from New York, but also from Philadelphia. We saw Glazer toss up a couple flicks that hung up like that, and it's just the way the wind is going. So when you try to overthrow a little bit, what a lot of players do is they get their elbow and their wrist out ahead of their hips, and then they lean back to try to compensate for it, where really what you need to do is lean forward and lean into that pass. Send it out on a line. Throw it out, don't throw it up. Nobody likes it when you throw up.
That is analysis right there, folks. If you're learning to throw your flick, throw it out, don't throw it up.
Well, it works for backhands, too. It's just tends to come into play more for flicks.
So we're under a minute now. Ended up scoring that goal was number 50, or number 80 rather, Irvin. O'Connor got the assist, so Brownlee, who had the great catch, doesn't get any sort of point out of that. Sickles gets past Wilson, and then Wilson, while he was getting up, it looked maybe like his feet were tangled up with Sickles, and now he's slow to get off the field.
Could be a
or
cramp,
get up.
could be a tangle, it could be any number of things. It's just a little awkward collision and interaction there between the two guys after they both made a bid up high on the disc.
Here's again. So he went up, and he rolls. I don't think, maybe, just a cramp.
Yeah,
the way it looked in his calf.
I tell you, it looked awkward. It looks like it felt awkward, and I'm happy to see him walking off the field.
Yeah.
Happy to see that Sickles didn't get the worst of that either.
And then Billy just throws it in to Glazer. Glazer desperately trying to get past that 6-goal mark that he set in the first matchup. He's running out of time.
Sickles used his left-handedness, which everybody's fully aware of, but still catches you off guard as a mark or as a downfield defender. So he was able to toss a little break lefty backhand up. And since Glazer knew it was coming and it was tossed to the correct side of him, all he had to do was run, take a little jump, get the easy goal. That's a lot less running than what Glazer has to do for most of his goals.
Which are very shortly after the pulls. So he's got 5 now on the day.
Ooh, that's a lot. He's just racking them up.
14 on the season, and we're only in week 3.
14's the sort of total that you see for a lot of very talented players all the way by the end of the season.
Right. I mean, if you can get into the 20s, I would say it's considered a pretty good year.
For sure. This is a nice deep pull. A lot of float.
So let's see if New York tries to use up this last 28 seconds, or if they'll just go for the quick huck downfield. But looks like they're methodically moving it up now.
Well, Philly's in sort of a 3-3-1 zone here as well, so they're just trying to make sure that New York doesn't get anything quick.
Swinging it around to both sides. Final 10 seconds here. And they'll put it into the end zone one more time, and it is caught and held on to for New York. Finkler.
It was a good throw there from Mott to not only find the receiver, but zip it in there quickly enough that there was no opportunity for the defense. He catches it on the sideline, sets himself, and puts enough sauce on it, just enough, that the catch is a pretty easy catch there. I mean, yeah, he had to go to the ground, but there was no defense in the area, and he knew that he pretty well had it under control. It looks like New York is calling a final timeout here to get a half-field pull with 4 seconds left.
4 seconds, and I was just going to ask if someone even try to throw it for that completion percentage. We'll step away when we come back. The final 4 seconds of today's game. It's 25-10 Philadelphia. So New York using every second possible here to just continue to improve and work things out in a live game situation. So they had a timeout left. They take it, and they're going to do one more midfield pull and see if Philadelphia even does anything after they field it. All they really have to do is touch it.
Yeah, it's a scenario where you get another opportunity to work on something for New York.
Right.
You can work on getting down in your defense, setting your defense, but really, Philadelphia doesn't really have to get into your game at all. If you throw a roller, all they have to do is touch it and then wait for the clock to run out. If you throw something that they catch, all they have to do is catch it and wait for the clock to run out. So it's a scenario where I'm not sure exactly what they're going to get out of it. Maybe just another game execution thing where they get to work on their pull. Again, work to run down, set their defense.
Yep.
It's a little odd, though. A little strange to experience this sort of meaningless last 4 seconds extended a little bit longer.
Just try and do anything and everything they can to keep improving week to week. I mean, they got the victory last night, which I think most would say was unexpected, but well-deserved for them. They took advantage of the Currents' mistakes big time, and that's what good teams will do.
Yeah, for sure.
So another team's going to give you opportunities, you take advantage.
And that's been characteristic of Philadelphia all this season. This is one of the things that we've talked about in the past seasons where they've had difficulty scoring after turnovers, even though the turnovers were happening.
And there it is.
Got it in bounds.
Full touchdown, roll out the back. Nick Hiernet will pick it up, tap it in, and the Spinners improve to 4-0. The Rumble are 1-3, and your final score 25-10. Philadelphia Spinners, the victors over the New York Rumble as they remain perfect on the year. We're going to step away one last time and hopefully talk to our player of the game, Matt Glazer, when we get back here. 25-10, your final score.
The team dynamic is just to have as much fun as possible.
It's an experience, man. You turn around and you look and there's this big giant animal running towards you.
When I first started commentating, it was kind of tough for me because it's like, well, I can be out there too. I can play with these guys. Why am I up here in the booth?
Jeff Grant he's a freaking monster. He can sort of just do it all, you know?
A few of my students were like, we saw you on the bus. I was like, I don't ride the bus. No, you're on the side of the bus.
The 4-0 Spinners, now the 4-0 Spinners, 25-10 victors over the New York Rumble, and our player of the game, Matt Glazer, standing down field side. Congratulations, Matt, on the win today.
Thanks, appreciate it. The conditions gave us a little trouble, but we pushed through. This team's been all about that this year so far.
So what helped you push through those conditions?
Our defense is making big plays all day. You know, it fires everyone up when everyone gets in the mix. I can't think of someone who didn't have a big play today. So from top to bottom of the roster, everyone was just giving 100% effort.
Yeah, and for sure, we were talking about that during the game. It seemed like every single 50-50 disc, it was all Spinners all day. Is that something you guys focus on specifically, or is that just the way you guys play naturally?
It's not. We got a lot of younger guys. You know, there's a good and a bad about roster turnover. Bad as you lose some veterans, but good is you get a lot of young guys who are super athletic and come in and make plays. And that's what it's been about this year. We don't specifically drill 50-50 plays. We just say go out there, be the athlete that you are, and make a play.
With all of those new players and sort of the changes that have happened for your team generally, what's different in 2016 than the previous years that you've been with the Spinners?
You know, we changed the offense a bit. It's given a lot more space downfield for cutters to play in space.
Yeah.
So it's just another tool in our tool belt. We can always fall back on things we know, but it's nice to have different looks that we can throw at defenses. And on the defensive side, we've just gotten better all around in terms of making Ds that you were talking about, and in terms of converting. We're converting a lot of breaks, which is really making it easier for the offense to go out there and do their job when they get in the field.
And we've seen you get involved a lot downfield. Sometimes you're open by about 5, 7 yards, even 10 yards at different points. But in other situations, your teammates are throwing discs into places where we can't exactly tell what that is. What's helped you develop that trust with the throwers on your team?
You know, this group of guys have been playing together for a couple years now, and I just think we just know what each other's going to do. We know what each other's strengths are. We know what each other's weaknesses are, and we pick each other up. Where someone's weak, someone brings in their strength, and vice versa. So it's been great to get a lot of chemistry over a couple years, and it's really paying off in spades right now.
And I'll tell you, when your offense is clicking and you guys are running and hitting on all cylinders, it's a joy to watch you guys on offense. So I'm happy that you've been developing that sort of chemistry. I got to say, you're sitting at 14 goals right now, just halfway to the 28 you had last season. What should we expect from you coming out of this bye week next week?
I mean, listen, when someone's on deck to make a play, we just hope that people make plays. If it's me, great. If it's one of my teammates, even better. I don't have to do the work. So we're just going to go out there and continue to make plays. Offense is going to keep on getting better. We had some hiccups today that we're not too proud of. But, yeah, whoever's up is going to make a play.
That's excellent. Thank you for your time. Congratulations on your 4-0 start. Congratulations on your personal good start to the season. Even though it's not about you, you got a whole team. We appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right, good stuff from Matt. As his Philadelphia Spinners improve, like you said, Dusty, 4-0. Only 2 teams in the league 4-0. We'll step away and one more time wrap this up when we come back. One last time here from Germantown Academy, Carey Stadium. Jeff Poster, Dusty Rhodes, 25-10 final score of Philadelphia Spinners, 4-0, and on top of the East, the Rumble dropped to 1-3. And the Rumble just didn't execute on the simple things early. Philadelphia took advantage. Everybody really seemed to play well on that side of the disc, and Philly's got another win on their book.
Yeah, and Glazer said it really well. It's all about the next man up. It's all about expecting your teammates to perform well, trusting that they will perform well, and then going out and showing yourself, your teammates, your opponents that you're up for it. As far as the Rumble are concerned, yeah, this is a bad loss. It's a 15-point loss. There's no other way to cut that. But it's also the loss on a second day of a back-to-back. And they got the win on the first end, may have been a little overexcited, a little sort of satisfied with that, and they came out today and just got rolled by a Philadelphia team that's looking to take control of this entire conference and ideally the entire league. You can tell that they're not satisfied with these individual victories. Every single time we talk to one of these Philadelphia players or a coach, they're talking about the big picture, they're talking about not being satisfied with every little step, and they're talking about winning. I'm really excited to see what the Spinners have for us over the rest of this season, and I think with what we've seen from the Rumble, they're going to get back into the mix, and I don't think that either Philadelphia or Boston should feel safe playing against New York, because if they get rid of some of their errors, this is very easily a much closer game.
Well, we will be back in action in a week on Saturday night. There'll be the DC Current at the Boston Whitecaps. Dusty will then take you Sunday on the road. Again, New York and DC will play on Sunday afternoon, but that's going to do it here for us in week 3. Final score, once again, 25-10, the Spinners over the Rumble. And on behalf of all of our MLU crew here today, Dusty Rhodes, I'm Jeff Poster, and we'll see you next week in Boston.